All right, good evening, all of you across northern Ohio and northern Indiana. I'm forecaster Nick Dunn here with an update on severe weather. We've got multiple severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect across the area. You're right now looking at Zach Batten Stream in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. They are in northern Williams counties. You're seeing a lot of lightning flashing on the screen there. They're under a severe thunderstorm warning, and we're going to get to all of these warnings. We currently have three that are active with multiple counties involved in each of those three. So let's start off in Owens area up in Sandusky County, where we have a severe thunderstorm warning right now for Lucas, for Wood County, for portions of Erie County, for portions of Ottawa County, and portions of Sandusky County. This warning is going in effect until 11 o'clock tonight with the potential for some quarter-sized hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. They have this moving almost kind of due south. Owen, I'll turn this one over to you. You're up in that area. What are you guys seeing up there right now? You're probably not seeing much, but what are you guys seeing up there at the moment?
No, Nick, right now you're seeing just that generalized lightning off in the distance, kind of what you're seeing on Zach's screen there. You're getting a good lightning show tonight. You're going to see a lot of thunder boomers as these move across the area. There's a lot of lightning with these, and the data is indicating that it will continue to see a lot of lightning. Now, the one thing about this that the warning really was based on, so I don't want to get everybody excited in all these counties. This is a fairly big polygon. And there's kind of two parts to this. We're seeing the one that's moving into Lucas County, and there's going to be a little bit of this that clips the portion of northwestern or northeastern Wood County, and then you're going to see Ottawa County kind of taking the direct impact of this, and even portions of northern Sandusky County that's going to take kind of the brunt of this particular line. And what we're looking at here, I mean, again, nothing too crazy, if you will, but they issued it mainly for wind gusts. Right now we're going to see, right now they got the storm motion moving at a pretty good clip. They got it moving at about 50 miles an hour in this particular cell from the National Weather Service, and we're continuing to see this move with a little bit of speed. They put the warning at 45, but now they're picking up just a little bit as it's gaining a little bit of momentum over that lake, especially that frontal system that is there. But we're having 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail is why they issued the warning. So again, quarter-size hail, we're right at that 1-inch marker is what they're indicating right now. So it's 1 inch in diameter hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So it's nothing overly exciting, but at this point, where we still have some stuff on the backside, and as this continues to come off the lake, we're going to have to see how it plays and interacts with the atmosphere that's over the lake. We're watching a few areas of that very closely over the lake. I can tell you that there is some broad rotation right now. If that tightens up, we'll have to wait and see as that approaches into the portion of Ottawa County and Erie County as it makes its way here into northwest Ohio. But again, the main reason they issued for this, so anybody listening in the area, with Lucas County, Wood County, Sandusky County, Ottawa County, as it moves across the lake, and especially that little bit that's going to hit the northeastern part of Toledo, it is for mainly damaging wind gusts, Nick.
All right, Owen, thanks for that. And Zach, I'll turn it over to you next. You are in Williams County. We'll head over to that warning next. It looks like you guys are about to get hit with a pretty decent-looking, we'll call this one a multicellular thunderstorm. There's numerous hail cores. There's some pretty deep hail cores involved in this one, too. You guys are seeing a ton of lightning right now there up in Pioneer, up in northern Williams County. And your warning goes... Looks like your warning goes until 10:45. They continue it for half-dollar size hail and winds to 60. Are you guys seeing any wind yet or anything up there?
Not yet. No wind. There's still a little bit of wind feeding into the storm, but aside from that, it's actually almost even calmed down a little bit as the storm gets closer. But lightning definitely picking up. We're actually starting to get some good shots, and we are keeping an eye on that hail core. At least one of the hail cores. We might have to reposition here shortly so we don't get hit by that. But right now it's looking good. We're in a good spot, so we're just kind of hanging out.
All right, sounds good. So you continue to watch Zach there. You can continue to see the amount of lightning is almost continuous now. If you watched us about 10, 15 minutes ago, it was still kind of intermittent. Now it's like we're not even going a second passes by without seeing a flash of lightning. You can see some of the different colors there too that are going on. You're seeing some yellows. You're seeing some whites there as well. So different types of lightning occurring. But again, we're watching. This is kind of one solid line now almost that is formed from southeastern Michigan over towards Lake Erie. And I will say we are now seeing consistent TVS signatures on Zach's thunderstorm. That's going to be kind of on the western side. That's going to be coming through Coldwater, Michigan. That's coming into Branch County, east of Interstate 69. I'm very familiar with that area. Becoming sliding down into more of Hillsdale County very soon. Most of Hillsdale County now getting hit very hard with large hail and damaging winds. That'll be coming towards the Ohio Turnpike. I would expect a warning for Williams County and for Fulton County here probably within the next 15 minutes. So you might be with us here for a little while because this line's starting to gain its steam, starting to gain its composure a little bit. You're also watching that other line that has the warnings in effect for Owens area. That's also kind of moving over the lake. There's also a special marine warning. This includes all of the islands. This includes over towards Cedar Point. This includes all those cabins and all the lighthouses and things like that up there. So if you know anybody lives up there, tell them to get indoors. You can expect, obviously, it's not very good boating weather right now this time of the year anyway, but just out of precaution, they did issue a special marine warning there. And lastly, we kind of have another area to watch. This is across northwest Indiana, coming through South Bend and Gary. We have a warning for LaGrange County. This one here, I'll stop the radar. We'll look at this one real quick. This is going to be for western LaGrange County. They have this one for a wind gust up to 70 miles per hour and quarter-size hail. So let's zoom into this one real quick, and we'll talk about this. I'm going to leave Zach's stream as long as he has it there, so we can try to use that to our best advantage, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Look at the velocity. You can clearly see the gust front with this one indicated on the velocity Owen coming into western LaGrange County through Middlebury and into Goshen. They've warned this one for 70 miles per hour, and while the velocity is not showing that, the structure itself looks really, really good coming through Middlebury right now.
Absolutely, Nick, and we continue to see we kind of see these pulsing storms. I'm looking at some other areas back in Michigan right now. So, and I was looking at a report that came in that I don't want to read right now because it'll get people excited. But we are watching that area. We got two areas that we're watching. Number one, we're watching this county, or this big polygon that we have for Lucas Wood, Ottawa, Sandusky counties. We're watching that area, although that is not really my main focus, to be honest with you, and I'm from Sandusky County. That is going to be more of the linear threat. So if you're in any one of these areas, make sure you're getting indoors and you're seeking shelter, staying away from windows, all the common sense things. Make sure you're not outside and you're just seeking shelter, because we're going to see some strong wind gusts out ahead of this, and that can take you by surprise. The hail is kind of lessened over the last couple of scans, which is a good sign, starting to turn into that linear threat, which is a very good sign for the portions here of northwest Ohio. I'm tuning my eyes back into Hillsdale, so it's coming into Williams and Fulton County in the northwestern portion of Ohio right now. Williams and Fulton County is starting to pique my interest. I will say it that way at this point. So I'm keeping a close eye on it. We're seeing a little bit of rotation. We're seeing a little bit of a mesovortex signature right there, and we're going to keep an eye on that, especially as it moves into Williams and Fulton County. Wouldn't be surprised to see a warning issued for those two counties here. I know Williams got in on a little bit, but seeing another warning issued here in the next couple of minutes, as we were talking about, we do see 1-inch hail markers in there, so that's a very good sign that this storm is continuing to intensify. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that one. That is the one that I'm really concerned with at this point. And as it moves into Ohio, we'll just have to keep a close eye on it. We're seeing on radar some of the inflow notches that we'll also have to keep an eye on. So it's kind of on that backside of this storm. Not to take any focus away from the one that's in extreme Ohio right now, or extreme northwest Ohio right now with the city of Toledo. It looks like Toledo, for the most part, is going to miss the brunt of this storm. People in Perrysburg are going to miss the brunt of this particular storm. So if you're anywhere in that area, you're going to see some pretty good wind gusts and some lightning, but it looks like the brunt of the storm is going to dip to your north for right now. But it's going to be, like I said, a very, very big lightning show. I know the National Weather Service has put out something like over 5,000 cloud flashes and over 1,500 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes that have occurred over the last 15 minutes, Nick.
Yeah, and that's something of note that I'm seeing, even just looking from a reflectivity perspective. I don't even need to show you the lightning count because the amount of reds and purples you're seeing are very vibrant. I also do want to mention over Ashtabula in far northeastern Ohio, there are some individual cells beginning to pop up, and I'm not surprised to see this. These are kind of out ahead of any associated lines. These are kind of by themselves. A little bit I'm watching these. There's no warnings on any of these right now, but the fact that these are by themselves, we're still kind of in that environment. The tornado threat's not zero. We still want to stress that we think it is lowering with each and every passing hour, and hopefully it stays that way. But as things stand right now, no warnings for Ashtabula or Lake or Geauga County. There's a warning across the border into Pennsylvania. We don't cover them. But if you know anybody south and east of Erie, PA, or east of Ashtabula, they do have a severe thunderstorm warning there. But we'll watch those and see if any of those start to exhibit any other kinds of signs or structures. We'll take you back over here towards far northern Ohio, the Toledo, Sandusky area. Here's the line. You can see it's quite thick on reflectivity. There's a lot of very heavy rain. So even if you don't get very gusty winds or if you don't get much hail, you're going to see plenty of rain from the east side of Toledo down towards Oak Harbor, Sandusky. Plenty of rain going to come in. Let's take you over to velocity real quick. I'll show you what the winds look like. kind of a noisy signature from the Cleveland radar site. And so actually we switched over to another velocity product. There we go. You're seeing a lot of greens here. We're not seeing a ton of rotation. In fact, I'm not even seeing really any. And the wind speeds are not overly impressive, but there's that potential still for some winds up to 60 miles per hour with this line. In terms of the hail cores, we're not seeing much. There's a little bit here, kind of around Put-in-Bay would kind of be the area. I think we're going to see some hail potential, and that's not very high at that, but down towards also Marblehead, and then eventually Sandusky as well. You're still watching Zach stream there. A lot of lightning. You can actually also start to see what looks like. Zach, it looks like, is that the base, or kind of the shelf cloud, if you will, that I'm seeing there towards the horizon?
Yeah, it looks like it. There's a little bit of shelf cloud. We've seen signs of a lowering here and there, but it looks like it's more, kind of more of a shelf cloud at this point.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So if you watch every once in a while, you see a lightning flash. We'll take you back over to the Williams County storm now. You can watch it. Every so often you see a couple flashes here and there, very indicative that you're watching the leading edge of that thunderstorm approaching Zach's location. Again, he may have to reposition depending on how things go. Let's take you into Hillsdale County, Michigan. Again, it is far northeastern Williams County, basically the city of Pioneer, and that's about it, and a little portion of US 20 that's involved in this warning. But look at the amount of purple here. This tells me there's a lot of hail falling, and when we see that much purple, that would even lead me to believe there could be some accumulating hail with this thunderstorm.
Absolutely. And one of the indicative things that we're seeing on right now on the radar, if you look at and turn your attention to correlation coefficient, right now there's a very wide range of something that shouldn't be there, and that's not necessarily indicative of a tornado, but that is also indicative of hail. So that is a pretty good indicator right now over Hillsdale County in particular that I'm looking at, that there's probably some decent-sized hail, and I'm looking at it not from the northern Indiana side, I'm looking at it from Detroit because it's coming from the other way, but we're looking at it kind of from that backside from Detroit, and that's a pretty good indicator that there's also some very large hail, along with the VIL, or vertical integrated liquid, definitely showing some great signs of hail there. So wouldn't be surprised if anybody in Hillsdale County in Michigan is seeing some of that hail. Continuing to keep my eye on rotation. I will kind of say that once again. We're seeing some of these little vortices pop up and go back down, so we're keeping a very close eye on that as well, because that's just continuing to pique my interest, especially south of the town of Hudson. So I'm looking at that in Michigan. That will be crossing into Ohio here in approximately the next 10 minutes or so. So if you were in Wauseon and then Fulton County, you're probably going to see a warning here, severe thunderstorm warning here very shortly. And we're keeping an eye on if there were to be a tornado warning issued. More likely we'll see a severe thunderstorm warning possible tagged with tornado, possibly, we'll see. Keeping a very close eye on that one as it continues to move to the south and to the east. And you got to remember here, we're kind of getting into a little bit of what we call a radar dead zone as it moves into extreme northwest Ohio. Nick?
Yeah, and we'll have to watch that closely because obviously radar data is not the greatest there, but that's our strongest storm right now by far on the radar screen right now. I'm still watching the Grange County. This one appears to have weakened just a little bit. But that could be because there's an outflow boundary associated with it. We'll get you set back into this. This is now for, again, just western LaGrange County. I'm not seeing anything. I know, and I'm not able to access what the Weather Service is saying about this one, but I wouldn't be. So they've not updated it, and it's set to expire in about 19 minutes, but it's also about to move out of the polygon. So we'll wait and see if they're going to issue anything with that one. And then zooming out and looking out across the rest of northwest Indiana, this is kind of becoming a very organized line. You're seeing multiple severe thunderstorm warnings with that. And I have kind of forgotten to express, if you are shaded in this yellow, or if I'm zoomed in, you're shaded in that yellowish orange color, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. The blinking boxes are your warnings. If you see a red blinking box, that's a tornado warning. A yellow blinking box is severe thunderstorm, and green blinking box would mean a flash flood warning. I don't expect much, if any, flash flood warnings tonight, but flooding is still a potential, especially low-lying areas, flood-prone areas, and obviously ponding of water. So keep an eye out on that tonight. So that's kind of where things stand for now. We'll switch it back over to the Cleveland radar because that line's starting to come off the lake a little bit more, so we should be beginning to start to see some impacts. Looks like they've also updated the track on this one. Looks like they have it moving due south right now about 25 miles per hour. So, and that one has slowed down drastically.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but because we're getting a wide range, we're going 45 to 25. It may have slowed down just a little bit. I'm not sure if it's quite 25, but we're looking at, and I got a very good, the one that's coming off the lake right now into Ottawa County and Lucas County. I got a pretty good eye on it as I'm looking into the terminal Doppler out of Michigan there. So I'm seeing some pretty good stuff there on terminal Doppler radar. Nothing that's over concerning with that particular line right now, especially on the low level scans. So that's a good sign. Now moving back again towards that Hillsdale, that stronger cell, yeah, that one is showing some different signs, if you will, that we're keeping an eye on. But I'm looking at the storm relative velocity, not too concerned right now for the one that's moving into Toledo, and we're going to be moving into Port Clinton, Oak Harbor, and in that area over the next couple of minutes. So when you're seeing that, it's kind of pushing off here over the lake, and it's on basically Ottawa County's doorstep right now. The one part is moving, the backside, as you can see, is moving into the extreme northeast portion of Lucas County, and it's getting ready to be on Davis-Bessie's doorstep here at any moment there in Ottawa County. So you're going to see some pretty good gusts as this thing comes in over the lake. But again, still watching that one on the backside, and all is calm right now from the National Weather Service. So they're keeping a cool mentality, if you will. They're keeping a calm and collected mentality as we continue to look at this cell moving in. And we don't want to forget again about the one back in LaGrange County. We're also keeping an eye on that for basically damaging wind gusts for that one as well. I would say out of all the ones in our coverage area, I'm really looking at that one over Hillsdale. That's starting to turn into more of a pretty decent structure. There we go. There is a severe thunderstorm warning issued for Hillsdale, Fulton, Henry, and Williams County now until 11:30. So there's your latest warning that has just been issued again for Hillsdale, Fulton, Henry, Williams County until 11:30. Nick?
Yeah, we should see that polygon pop up in just a second, because I believe the original warning that was for Hillsdale and Williams County expired at 10:45, and there it is. We'll probably see Adrian County added in that one too. I know we do have a couple fans just across the border into Michigan, so we'll watch that too. But they have this one currently warned for only quarter-size hail winds to 60 miles per hour, and I think the wind threat definitely going to become a concern. You're still watching Zach's stream. He's still got it going as of right now. Zach, it looks like maybe the worst of this might pass just to your east. Where are you guys just going to continue to hold put for the time being?
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to miss the hail, which is good news. We're watching kind of the west end of it that's developing kind of on top of Reading in Michigan right now. But it looks like we actually still might be in a good spot to just kind of sit back and watch.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. We've also got another new severe thunderstorm warning just popped up for LaGrange in Noble and Steuben and DeKalb counties in northeast Indiana. They have now warned this one for quarter-size hail winds to 60 miles per hour. Oh, and I'm not surprised to see this new warning. They have drug it out pretty much right to the Ohio-Indiana state line, and we'll have to watch and see if these two different lines come together, and that would likely then perhaps increase that damage and wind threat just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing you got to keep in mind is the people that are in Lucas County, Wood County, that have the severe thunderstorm warning right now, you are going to see another cell that comes on the backside of this right now. So people that were in Lucas and Wood County, even down into Sandusky and Seneca County, you're starting to see this line fill in. That's over northern Michigan, moving into Fulton and Williams County right now. That's also going to tramp to the southeast as it moves forward here at about 40 miles an hour is what I got it at. So it's going to continue to move in. So people in Wood County, Fulton County, Henry County, you're not out of the woods just yet as this continues to tramp to the south. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. Main thing right now that I'm seeing up there in the Hillsdale storm over the last couple of scans is still indicative of large hail. We have a very deep hail core inside of this cell. And again, you're starting to see the line fill in. Meteorologist Kyle Adams just a few minutes ago on our other broadcast, we were talking about that line, and that line will continue to fill in over in the overnight hours. And hopefully, again, we're going into that prime time. The atmosphere is juiced and ready to go, and we're in that prime time. We always say, if you hear me, usually right around that 10 o'clock, 10 to 1 in the morning is really when things really start to fire up, especially as this particular front moves through, and this warm front in particular, everything behind it is very warm, and it's kind of fueling this line as it moves to the south and to the east, Nick.
Yeah, so I'm also communicating Brant Warren will be joining us here in the next little while as well. So we have a full team, and I know Kyle Adams will be back as well. So we'll have plenty of people keeping you informed as to what's coming on. And as I mentioned, Adrian County, Michigan getting a warning. There it is now. No surprise there. I expected that, and sure enough, the Weather Service in Detroit just issued that. So we have 3 different Weather Service offices kind of working the eastern lines, the one that's coming into Sandusky and Ottawa and Erie County through Lucas and Wood County. We got 2 others that are working the secondary lines. So we have Cleveland working the Toledo to Sandusky warning. You've got Detroit that's working the cells that are coming through Monroe and Adrian counties, and then you've got Northern Indiana working on Williams and Fulton counties. So there'll have to be some collaboration amongst those 3 offices. We're watching this cell north of the state line extremely closely. That has our greatest attention. I don't want to forget about those of you in Northeast Indiana, LaGrange, Noble, Steuben, DeKalb. We've got a warning here. This is clearly a straight line wind threat. I'm not seeing any rotation with this line at all. This is purely just a straight line wind threat. We're not seeing any reds and greens that jump out at us there, but you can clearly see there's a gust front and or an outflow boundary driven with that. That should help those storms to maintain their strength through the rest of northern Indiana and likely through most, if not all, of Ohio through the rest of the overnight hours tonight and into Wednesday morning. I do want to go back to kind of the cell that's kind of got our attention. We'll spend a little bit more time with this one. So just for reference, Zach is here in Pioneer, and I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay, I think you're seeing my cursor move, but it's actually over on Zach's video, and that's fine. But what you're seeing right now, though, is we've got the cell here over Pioneer that's to the north. So there's where Zach is in Pioneer. You can travel east along US 20 towards Lyons and Metamora. The cell here near Hudson, and the radar is suggesting 2-inch hail, and Detroit warned that one for, it looks like $50 size hail, so they went a little bit higher on the hail threat than northern Indiana did, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's larger than even that size hail falling based on the radar returns that we're seeing here. They're not as strong as what we saw down in West Virginia earlier this afternoon, but that's still really intense hail core.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised either. Depending on which radar you're looking at, again, we're kind of in that radar dead zone. So if you're seeing $50 size hail, just for a point of reference, that is 1.25 inch hail. If you're kind of referencing that, to coins, your penny size hail is 3/4 inch. Your quarter size hail is that severe criteria of 1 inch, and then $50 size hail is at 1 1/4 inch. And if we start to move up from there, usually you'll hear the term ping pong size hail, ping pong ball size hail, as it continues to increase there. But wouldn't be surprised to see that. We could definitely see some isolated areas where you see that 2-inch or plus as it continues to move forward here. But again, looking at this from a kind of a broad perspective, there's several areas that we're keeping an eye on. Again, this is filling in. By any means, we're not going to overhype the situation. If you're in the area, make sure that you're seeking shelter and you're getting indoors. Mainly, this is going to be a wind threat and large hail. That's pretty much it, depending on where you're at. Now, not saying we couldn't see an isolated tornado. Again, I continue to watch very strongly the area over Hillsdale moving into Fulton County near the town of Morenci. I'm continuing to watch that area closely, not saying that there is anything there, but we're just keeping a very close eye. If there's something to start to happen, my gut feeling says it would be in that particular area.
Yeah, Owen, I'm watching that one very closely as well. I'm working on getting a couple of other things put into our video here, so I'll be kind of working on that on the backside when you're talking every once in a while. But you see Zach, is they're kind of showing you, it looks like they're starting to get a little bit of rain where they're at, but it looks like they're going to definitely get the brunt of the lightning. Looks like, again, the good news is they're going to miss the hail, so we're not going to have to watch them getting their windshields cracked or anything like that, so that's a good thing. I see some questions about the text that you see on Zach's stream there, and you may see it kind of go in and out every once in a while. I see that it's been interrupted there, so and now it's back. Looks like they're back on the road there, but you may see some text kind of pop up on his stream every once in a while. I'm going to assume that is closed captioning for his viewers there that may be listening, or perhaps this might even help you a little bit too if you're not able to hear us very well. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Maybe Zach could allude to that in a little bit, but looks like they're in a little bit of repositioning mode at the moment, so that's kind of where they are. Again, they're in Williams County. They're probably going to head east a little bit just to kind of see what's going on. Still seeing a lot of lightning, not many people traveling out there, so that's kind of where the situation is with that. So that's kind of where that is. Looks like, and they now have marine warnings up for pretty much the entire stretch of the Ohio portion of Lake Erie now.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be surprised with that, Nick. I mean, Marines, anybody out on the water definitely should be seeking harbor, I should say, or safe harbor, because the wind gusts really are going to be around 50 knots out on the lake. So that's kind of what they're saying for that one. So small craft especially can be damaged when we have 50-knot winds out there, and basically sudden higher waves. It kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. So if you're out on the lake already this early in the season, yeah, you probably shouldn't be out there. And a small hail as we continue to go through the evening. One other particular area of note: the National Weather Service out of Cleveland is great at giving us information, and I do appreciate it. Is they just noted that the new cloud to ground lightning strikes are over 6,000 cloud flashes in the past 15 minutes, in the clouds particular, and then 1,700 that are striking the ground in the particular coverage area here with this storm. So that's a massive amount. I mean, we're thinking of 1,700 different cloud to ground strikes actually hitting the ground, and that's just an estimate by all the technology we have. It could be more over the past 15 minutes, and 6,000 cloud strikes and cloud flashes, if you will, that's going through the sky. So that's a pretty good number, and we can tell that just kind of gives us a little bit of an idea of how intense the storm is. Now, we can't say that makes a storm severe because it doesn't, but it just tells us that some of the intensity that's in the atmosphere, and especially in the upper layers of the atmosphere. We're looking at some dime-size hail that's reported right now, some small-size hail in Twinsburg, so that's back towards the Cleveland area in some of those cells as well. So we're having to keep an eye on this whole line and some of these prefrontal showers, and maybe a little bit of a storm starting to fire out ahead of this line just a little bit, especially in northeast Ohio, I should say. So I have to keep a close eye on that. But the one that's coming here, basically right now, we're kind of doing a little reset for you right now. We have the severe thunderstorm warning that goes on for Ottawa, Erie, Central Sandusky, northern Wood counties, and northeastern Lucas counties. That goes on until about 11 o'clock. So we'll continue to see what happens with this one. We'll see if they're going to drop that one early or not. We have a gust front arrival that's in Oak Harbor right now that's coming in out of amateur radio, which is good, at 35 miles an hour in Ottawa County. So that's in this particular storm cell. That means that the wind gusts are not quite getting there, which is good, only at 35 miles an hour. So that's a very good sign as it pushes off over the lake. So we have to wait and see what happens here as it continues to push off into Erie and Sandusky counties. And also we got some little hail that's been reported there as well. Over at the Toledo Zoo, or Cleveland Zoo, I should say. Sorry, Cleveland Zoo. We're talking about those other cells that we were looking at. Looking at the other cell that's coming into Fulton County right now, if you're in Williams or Fulton County, more or less Fulton County and portions of Lucas County that will eventually hit you, there's a severe thunderstorm warning there that is issued until 11:30. So that warning that's over there in Fulton County and Williams County in Ohio, that also encompasses Hillsdale County, that goes until 11:30. We're going to continue to watch that particular cell. We're on neighboring forecast offices. So Lucas County is out of the National Weather Service in Cleveland, so we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do. Wouldn't be surprised eventually if you see another severe thunderstorm warning in a few minutes for Lucas County and Wood County. Wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. If we're looking for our Indiana counties, especially if you're over in the Angola area or if you're in LaGrange, anywhere in those areas, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for you as well for Steuben County, northern Noble County, northwestern DeKalb County, and LaGrange County. That also goes until 11:30 tonight. And we're also watching some cells just even further to the west towards Chicago that eventually will push into our coverage area here as we go into the overnight hours. So we're continuing to keep a very close eye on this line. Again, kind of the main threats that we're seeing right now is large hail and damaging winds. And again, just keeping a close eye on that particular stronger cell that is near the county of Fulton in northwest Ohio, Nick.
Yeah, and just some other kind of general reminders as we are working through the rest of the overnight hours tonight. If you get put under a warning, you see the text at the bottom. I'm going to leave that there because that's kind of giving you some general information on what you can do in terms of if your location is under a warning, you should take action. And if your location is under a watch, just be prepared. So, again, that's just some kind of general text at the bottom. Yeah, Owen, you want to cut in?
Yeah, so the severe thunderstorm warning that was issued for Erie, Lucas, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Wood counties is canceled. They went ahead and let that expire. It's set to expire at 11 o'clock anyway. That is now canceled early. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning, however, out for Cuyahoga, Geauga, Portage, Summit counties over towards Cleveland that is in effect now until 12 a.m. So severe thunderstorm warning again issued right now for Cuyahoga, Geauga, Portage, Summit counties. That goes until 12 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is an hour from now. And the severe thunderstorm warning, again, for Erie, Lucas, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Wood counties has been allowed to expire and actually canceled early at this time, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for that. I just pulled up the new warning there, and again, they have this going for an hour, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in addition to the line that is coming in off the lake as well. We may see some additional warnings coming with that. So there's the new severe thunderstorm warning, basically east central Cleveland, and if you're south of Chardon and north of Ravenna, north of Akron, that's kind of this area that's in this new warning here until midnight tonight. And we'll put a track on that from the National Weather Service. 11:01 into Garfield Heights, or pretty much within the next minute or two. Some of the stronger activity should be coming into your neck of the woods. Warrensville Heights, 11:06. Bedford, 11:07. Warren coming in at midnight. And then ultimately, if this holds in and holds together, will likely move out of our area and into Pennsylvania sometime between 12 and 12:30. So that's that. I know you still see the polygon blinking for the Toledo and Sandusky area. That should, if it doesn't drop off now, it'll drop off within the next 90 seconds when that warning was set to expire anyway. That line is definitely not at severe criteria. We continue to monitor the line of showers and storms coming into Fulton County. And Zach, we haven't talked to him. I see you guys are kind of on the move there. You guys coming through Pioneer, maybe the town perhaps? Where are you guys at?
We are heading east. Just some rural roads. Because actually, we stopped to pick up a limb that was laying in the road here. But we're heading east, we're watching the southern portion of this storm that's coming into Ohio, around Morenci. And also watching kind of the back end of it that's starting to develop a little more now. Good chance we're going to get kind of caught in between, so we're kind of planning on finding a gas station or somewhere to chill under if we end up needing to take cover from a little bit of hail.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys may have seen him stop there for just a couple seconds. Looks like they've got some small limbs down and maybe even some dead limbs. Again, the winds, they don't look overly impressive, but again, if you get a quick little gust front, that's all it's going to take to get a couple of those limbs to come down. So that's kind of where things stand for right now. So that's kind of where we're watching. So again, he's coming towards Morenci. You can see that the worst of that hail core is coming right in through Morenci. It's right on the Ohio-Michigan border now, crossing into Fulton County. There's US 20 involved there north of Wassy. This is still north of the Turnpike, but if you're traveling along the Turnpike, you're going to see some significant slowdowns in the next little while. Toledo, some pretty heavy rain for you. It's not severe right now, though. They've dropped that warning. A lot of lightning there, as you just saw in Zach's stream. There'll be a quick little delay there, obviously, that's just the way that broadcasting works. There's always a little bit of a delay in things, but you'll see, and again, an immense amount of lightning as Zach is moving east. Seeing a lot of lightning helping to illuminate the sky there. We'll obviously watch and see if there's any interesting cloud structures or whatnot with that. So again, that's still by far the strongest storm. Those of you up in northeast Indiana, now this particular portion of the line appears to have weakened a little bit. Don't let your guard down though, because I think eventually this will become all one solid line. The Storm Prediction Center alluded to that potential, and I think that's exactly what's going to be happening over the next hour or two. We'll watch that very closely. You can see, again, lots of hail core showing up there, and we'll look at velocity. We really haven't looked at this much because there really hasn't been a need to unless you're talking about the Fulton County storm, but it's a very noisy signature no matter where you're looking, just because we're kind of in that radar dead zone. And I think if we're going to see I think the best tornado potential right now is with that cell coming out of Michigan and into northwestern Ohio. Would you agree?
Yeah, so we have a new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, Nick, that has just now been issued. So again, there's a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued. Give me 1 second. It is a big one. It's huge. All right, we can tell. I think I'm going to say that. So the new severe thunderstorm warning is for Ashland, Cuyahoga, Erie, Huron, Lorain, Medina, Portage, and Summit counties. So again, Ashland, Cuyahoga, Erie, Huron, Lorain, Medina, Portage, and Summit counties until 11:45. So they're issuing some monster polygons in Cleveland tonight, to be expected, as this is a very wide linear threat, and they're also reporting some pea-sized hail in downtown Cleveland. That new warning, by the way, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 counties long. It is until 11:45. So short-lived warning. They didn't give it an hour. They only gave it 45 minutes. So that new warning again for Ashland, Cuyahoga, Erie, Huron, Lorain, Medina, Portage, and Summit counties until 11:45. Again, the main indicators on this one is going to be for large hail and damaging winds in excess of 60 miles an hour. So more of that linear threat as we continue to move through here, Nick. And give me 1 second here. I'm dealing with the warnings as well, Nick.
Yes, I'll let you take that for just a second. So something else that's also kind of catching my attention, I'm going to stop the radar for just a minute. Those of you that are over here in Portage County, we kind of have a thunderstorm that is out ahead of the line, and it is trying to exhibit some supercellularistic features just a little bit. Yeah, I think it's still kind of in that developing stage, if it's going to try to do so. I'm going to watch that one very closely, kind of on the backhand here. We'll watch that and see if that develops into anything. We're also watching over here towards Craig Beach. Again, more thunderstorms kind of developing out ahead of the line that's coming off the lake. The models did handle that part of this particular setup pretty well overall. So, and then right now, if you're coming into Lorain County, and even more specific, the city of Lorain, there's a pretty decent hail core coming right on shore right now as we speak. And then again, Cleveland, you're getting hit really hard right now. That's just round one. Round two is going to come in off the lake for you here shortly. And again, that's just kind of going to be the theme here for the next probably hour or so across northeastern Ohio. So let's take a look at all of the polygons. We have currently 4 active polygons in our coverage area. Working from west to east, you have LaGrange, Noble, Steuben, and DeKalb. This one goes until 11:30, more of a wind threat. The strongest cell right now coming into Fulton County. There's also still another cell kind of developing on the backside in Hillsdale County that will graze Williams County coming into Fulton County. There's a warning there for Williams, Fulton, and Henry. Goes until 11:30. We've got a warning for Cuyahoga and Geauga and portions of Summit and Portage until midnight. And then a bigger polygon that encompasses basically from Sandusky to Cleveland down to Akron over to Medina until 11:45. Again, all of that right now for hail and damaging wind, just as we suspected that the main threats would be. I do want to show you a regional radar synopsis, and this will kind of take a second to update. I'm going to turn off the hill markers here for just a couple of moments, but I do want to show you that we are seeing one solid line beginning to develop essentially now from near Buffalo all the way across Lake Erie through Toledo over towards Elkhart and back towards South Bend. This was kind of projected by the models, but I do want to continue to stress some good news. Okay, we are not seeing a ton of supercells. We thought that we would kind of see that, at least initially, and we're not seeing that. So that is some good news. And with the tornado threat, that has not materialized. So again, there's some more good news. We told you that the threat anyway today was already going to be low. The best chance was going to be across northwestern Ohio. And I think if we can go the next hour tornado free, I think our tornado chances drop even lower than where they already stand. So that's kind of where things stand with that. That's again kind of just a regional radar synopsis. Basically right now from Toledo to Cleveland, that's going to be kind of the hot spot here for the next hour. And then we'll watch and see how things progress from there. So we'll continue to watch where things stand. So we'll get you back in and look at the local radars now kind of into northeast Ohio. We'll start there and work our way back to the west again. Cleveland getting hit very hard right now, especially just on the southern sides of downtown. There's kind of some other cells that have popped up ahead of the line coming over the lake. Lorain and Sandusky, I'd imagine you're getting some very gusty winds right now. Probably some very heavy rain getting ready to set in as well. Probably quite the light show with this line coming in over Lake Erie. Those of you that are well out ahead of this, Akron, Medina, Strongsville, maybe even Ashland and Bucyrus and Mansfield. If you look off way to your north, you can probably see a ton of lightning. We observed that with Zach's storm that he's on, which again, you're seeing an immense amount of lightning there. We'll talk to him again in just a moment, but again, that's where he was able to see way out ahead. You can see the lightning. That's just kind of the conditions that we're in. So again, if you're way out ahead of these and you look way off to the north, you're likely to see some of the lightning. And it is pretty intense, but if you're out ahead of it, it is pretty cool to watch and kind of take in. Working back to the west, and we'll talk to Zach here again in just a second. We'll switch radars here to northern Indiana. And then we'll go into Fulton County, where, again, the worst storm that we have on the radar right now is about to basically settle right on the turnpike. And, Zach, it looks like you guys have pulled off there, at least for the time being.
Yeah, we kind of want to take it slow going east so we don't drive right into this thing. And we are still kind of watching the development on the back end. It's starting to look a little more interesting. So we're kind of reassessing, make sure we don't drive into the hail. and trying to make sure we also don't get caught in the hail in the back end.
Yeah, that's obviously something that we don't want you to get hit with hail. That's not what we don't want you out there doing that. We obviously don't want you to have to make any insurance claims or anything of that nature. I'm sure they would be a lot happier with you if you didn't have to make any claims for hail. So that's kind of where Zach is at the moment. You're seeing a lot of lightning. You can also again still see where the peak of the storm is. Zach, are you facing to the east right now in your shot?
Right now, my shot is actually back to the be northwest a little bit.
Kind of getting some perspective. So again, Zach is kind of here. I would assume he's very close to, if not into Fulton County just a little bit. He was in Pioneer, so either Williams or Fulton County. He's looking back to the northwest, so there is some development over towards Reading and Camden, Michigan. Again, just through most of Hillsdale County in general. But again, those of you right now, Lyons, Metamora, Swanton, Wauseon, that is a lot of hail coming through. There's also some really gusty winds with that more than likely as well. Something to keep an eye on over the next several minutes. Looking at storm reports, well, we're not seeing a ton. The last storm report that we've seen is actually going to be over in Cuyahoga County where they've gotten 1-inch hail. So we've not seen any confirmed storm reports of wind or hail in some time. Don't let that fool you, because we still have that potential for severe weather through the rest of the night tonight. We've got a long way to go until this line of storms clears the area, and then it's going to cool down as we get into tomorrow and Thursday. We'll talk about that a little bit later, or even tomorrow in general. So that's kind of where things are with that. But again, right now, the strongest storm, Fulton County, be indoors. Stay away from windows until this storm gets through you. You've also, again, Wauseon, Swanton, Lyons, Metamora. That's kind of the peak area right now that has some of the worst activity. Back to the west, we still have warnings in effect for portions of LaGrange and Noble and Steuben and DeKalb counties. This is basically a wind-driven threat at this point. Winds to 60 miles per hour, hail to 1 inch in diameter. It's coming about to cross Interstate 69, and it's right now just north of US 6. That will settle south of US 6, and eventually Fort Wayne, you'll be in the path. And we can kind of talk about. Owen stepped off here for just a second, but we'll kind of talk about some of the communities that are out ahead of some of these storms. Fort Wayne, I would be watching back towards Napanee, Warsaw, and Knox, kind of that back line. That looks very promising and very intense in nature, so we'll see if that holds together as it continues to slide off towards the south and to the east. Same thing for in Findlay. I'd be watching this back line over here across north-central Indiana. Same can be said in Lima. Again, watch this line kind of in north-central Indiana, and we'll see how that evolves. We'll take you back over to northeast Ohio. Toledo, you're kind of getting hit very hard right now. You've got a little bit of a break, but especially the southwestern suburbs are about to get hit very hard with another thunderstorm. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I would suspect that it's going to probably get another warning for Lucas County, maybe even Wood County here in short order. Let's take you over here to Cleveland. Again, Lorain County getting hit very hard right now along the lakeshore from Vermilion to Lorain. Westlake will be coming into your neck of the woods very soon. Sandusky also getting hit very hard. This is with the line coming onshore into the lake. We're watching that closely. And then these cells stretching from Cleveland to Garrettsville to Lordstown. These would be the cells we'll have to watch. They're out ahead of the line. We'll see if they start to exhibit any kind of supercellular characteristics. I've been watching the one north of Ravenna and has not materialized into very much. But again, Cleveland getting hit very hard. There was a report of 1-inch hail in downtown. Not surprising. We can zoom you right into downtown, seeing that across Newburgh Heights, Garfield Heights, Warrensville Heights getting hit hard with most of the hail. And then sliding southeast a little bit over here towards Garrettsville, some hail probably falling in your neck of the woods as well. We'll continue to watch that one. Again, we have the bigger polygon here for this line coming in off the lake. We can show you the track on this one. And in fact, I'll get you an updated track. We haven't talked about where things are going here. So let's get you an updated track. We'll track things kind of from Fremont all the way across the lake. And we're tracking the big line. We're not going to track the individual cells because those right now don't exhibit much in the way of any kind of tornadic activity, but we'll watch them closely. I'm trying to get the best reading on this as I can. Here's just again some rough estimated times of arrival for you. So Euclid coming in at 11:13. Basically now it'll be coming onshore. You should be seeing some gusty winds very soon. Lakewood 11:14. Cleveland 11:17. So again, we're tracking the big line here, not the individual cells. But Cleveland Heights 11:21. Strongsville 11:33, and into Akron a little bit after midnight. So that's where things stand. This warning goes until 11:45. We'll see if it gets to the end of that polygon by that time, and we'll continue to watch things very closely there. And I see Owen is back with us. Owen, I think we have two kind of dominant storms. The one that is along the line coming into Lorain County, and then the one that we continue and have been watching that's coming across Fulton County. Those are kind of my two peak areas of interest.
Yeah, Nick, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, no, I continue to see, I think the main threat, I mean, the one of the neat things I can see on radar is definitely you can see the gust front as it's pushing through, and it's not really a strong gust front, especially across Sandusky, Erie counties, even towards Cleveland. We're picking up on that hail, which is kind of interesting. I wouldn't be surprised as we're seeing those 1-inch hail markers. That's kind of our main threat, along with this linear wind threat as it moves through. Now the question becomes is, as this line pushes through, things will start to hopefully settle down just a little bit. I will tell you one thing, though. If you were in Lucas County and Wood County, so if you're in the southern portion of Lucas County and northern Wood County, kind of a heads up to you, because this line is pushing off this one area that I'm mainly concerned about here in Fulton County, is pushing off very quickly to the south and to the east, and has a very good hail core with it. Luckily, the rotation signatures and everything kind of have straightened out a little bit, which is a good sign for that hail. Yep.
Fulton County.
Wouldn't be surprised. Golf ball size hail, by the way, if you're trying to figure out now, that was a public report, so that was not by a trained spotter, but just keep that in mind. That golf ball size hail is 1 3/4 inch hail. So keep that in mind, kind of give you a perspective. So golf ball size hail is 1 3/4 inch hail. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Sandusky, Lucas, Ottawa, and Wood County. So that one coming in off Fulton, guess what? We got a warning for it right now. So a new warning for Lucas, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Wood counties that goes until 12:15 now. So if you were in that area. Oh, yes. We got 2 back-to-back. Woo! All right. So we have Ashtabula, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake Portage, Summit, and Trumbull in northwest Ohio as well. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for that. So pretty much everywhere on the line we have a severe thunderstorm warning. But new severe thunderstorm warning again for those areas. It goes till 12:15. So we're looking at that. We are also seeing this is a new report that come out of the National Weather Service. They're saying, are you ready for this, Ken? Or Nick? Are you ready for hen egg size hail?
Oh, where are we seeing that?
Yeah, Cleveland, hen egg size hail. So for our first time, we're seeing hen egg sized hail, which is 2-inch hail or lime size hail we're seeing. So out of Cleveland, we're seeing that 2-inch marker that has been reported out of the meteorologist right now. That's the lead meteorologist there. He said 2-inch hail or hen egg size hail. So very exciting. Give me just 1 second, Nick. I'm pushing the warnings out, if you will.
Absolutely. So real quick, guys, also I want to turn your attention to eastern Erie County. We've got a TVS showing up there. Not surprising. You can get some little phalanges that pop up along the main line. So, but I want to do a reset because we have multiple areas across northeast Ohio that are maybe even double boxed and even triple boxed in some cases. I kind of want to point this out a little bit and just kind of give you a wide range of where everything is, warning-wise, because, again, there are all kinds of flashing yellow boxes. I'm actually going to turn off the watch. That'll help kind of clear things up just a little bit. So the flashing yellow boxes with the orange outlines. I try to make this clear and easy to understand. Those are all the severe thunderstorm warnings right now. That encompasses basically from Toledo and Bowling Green all the way across the Ohio Turnpike. Virtually every mile right now of the Ohio Turnpike is under a severe thunderstorm warning, with the exception of parts of Williams County and parts of Sandusky County. But right now, as Owen alluded to, we have a severe thunderstorm until 12:15 for all of Ashtabula County, all of Lake County, all of Geauga County, most of Portage County, some of Summit County, eastern Cuyahoga County, and basically all of Trumbull County for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. Within that, there is a single severe thunderstorm warning that is a little smaller geographically that encompasses basically downtown Cleveland and moving over here towards the eastern suburbs. This is where we have that hen egg size hail report. We'll probably see the hail size jump from the warning box here pretty soon.
They're going to update that. They actually said that.
Okay.
So they're actually updating that warning box right now for that box.
Okay. And then over towards Solon and Garrettsville, this warning goes until 12 o'clock. So again, I know it's a little confusing, but we have a couple cells that have developed out ahead of the line, and they are severe, and they are producing, again, up to 2-inch hail. So we might turn our focus to that. When you're still watching Zach Stream, they continue to move east. We'll head that way in just a second and look at what's going on radar over there. Also, we have another large severe thunderstorm warning, and this one is the one that has the TVS of 7 right now over eastern Erie County. That may have been just a quick little blip in the radar. We'll watch and wait and see if that updates and it's still there. But boy, northern Lorain County getting hit I would say tremendously harder and maybe even worse right now than Fulton County, just with the sheer amount of rain that is coming down across portions of Lorain County. I would venture to say right now all of the ODOT cameras are likely not able to be seen there along the turnpike because it is raining so hard. I was going to try to pull those up, but looking at the reflectivity, you're probably not going to be able to see much, if anything. But this warning goes until 11:45. All of this is moving southeast at about 50 miles per hour, give or take a few miles per hour on either side. So that's the eastern half of the Ohio Turnpike. All of you under a severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Brunswick and Akron over towards Ravenna, Ashtabula, Norwalk. You're kind of right on the edge of that one. And then back into northwestern Ohio. And as you can see there, Zach has stopped again. Again, they don't want to run into the peak of this. And again, I'm watching Fulton County. I'll zoom into that one in just a second. This one also showing some tremendous hail signs. We had a public report of golf ball size hail. So we'll watch that one. But a new warning here for most of Lucas County, southwestern Iowa, northwestern Sandusky, and all of Wood County. This will go until 12:15 for 1.5-inch diameter hail. Owen, that would bring us up to Ping Pong. Am I correct on that?
For which one? Sorry, I was updating something else. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So that kind of encompasses your neck of the woods. That is
Sure.
for 1.5-inch hail. That is Ping Pong. Okay, that's
Ping
what I
pong.
thought. I just wanted to make sure. So, and stuff for up to ping pong ball size. So that includes downtown Toledo. That includes all of I-475 down to Bowling Green, Haskins, Bowling Green, Signet over towards even Genoa. Does not include Fremont, but the county itself is under warning. So obviously, just kind of keep an eye out. Just kind of keep a casual eye on that in the Fremont area. Fulton County. Again, this cell here in Wassian, it is trying on the backside to form somewhat of a supercellular characteristic. It's right now it's fairly straight. We're not seeing anything terribly abnormal, but if there is an area of peak interest right now for any kind of tornadic activity, I would have to think it's probably going to have to be that cell that's moving along US 20 and 20A there. It's going to come over towards Delta. You're getting hit hard now. Swanton, you're next in line. Be prepared for that. Liberty Center, you'll be next as that cell continues to move up towards the southeast. And and that one also exhibiting, as I'm looking at kind of from a wider perspective, a little bit of a bowing feature coming into Toledo. So maybe winds could easily exceed 60 with that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, especially if you're in the downtown Toledo area. If you're in Perrysburg, I would definitely be kind of keeping a very close eye on there. You're going to get some really strong winds over the Perrysburg area and pretty much all of the downtown area, Maumee. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, especially as Nick pointed out, you're starting to see that bowing structure. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those winds and some of those strong winds that's going to be coming into the Perrysburg area in about 15 minutes. There's a very bowing structure that's to this storm. So pretty much if you're in Maumee or Perrysburg or the southern part, riding right along the Ohio Turnpike, that exhibiting some very strong winds right now. That's probably in excess right now, I would say, between 40 and 50 miles an hour, but wouldn't be surprised to see those pick up. Again, we're in a radar dead zone because we're in between 3 radar sites, so we're kind of blind just a little bit, but I'm seeing at least 40 on the radar. Wouldn't be surprised to see that a little bit higher, especially in some of those areas moving through just about, it's in Holland right now. The worst of it's in Holland, and it's going to be moving right towards Perrysburg and the Rossford area in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I want to take the radar full on this one for just a couple of moments to kind of make sure everybody is seeing this one. Again, this one here, there's a little bit of a bowing structure. You can almost kind of pick it up now from basically the I-475 and 75 interchange on the north side of Toledo, kind of coming down towards Maumee and then over towards Wassian. That one there's kind of got a little bit of a backward C shape. Anytime we see that, we grow a little concerned for an enhanced pocket of damaging winds. Remember that within the watch, there was that potential that we could see winds up to 75 miles per hour at times. I want to stress we don't have any tornado warnings right now, and the max wind speed on any warning, at least within the text, is only 60 miles per hour. With that said, though, when we have these little miniature structures like this, we always have to throw a little extra concern out there. And in fact, you can almost probably even add the northern end of that up into Adrian County and then kind of extending back through Lucas and Fulton County. So that's an area of interest there. I don't want to forget about Northeast Indiana. I know we haven't seen much going on. The last report was back over towards South Bend, and there have been no confirmed reports of anything since. And luckily, so far tonight, knock on wood, we haven't seen much in the way of confirmed reports. And let's hope it stays that way. But nevertheless, warnings continue for LaGrange, Steuben, Noble, and DeKalb. That warning goes until 11:30, another 9 minutes. I don't expect that to be reissued as of right now, but we'll wait and see, because the western part of that line towards Plymouth is still showing some pretty good signs of organization at this time. But and I think it's safe to say at this point our focus right now definitely needs to be between obviously Cleveland and Lorain, and then over towards Toledo. Those kind of the three hot pockets, if you will, right now. For just a second, let's take you back over to Zach's feed. They are moving once again there, and Zach, it looks like you're fairly dry at the moment.
Yeah, we started to drop south a little bit, so we're kind of staying out ahead of the rain just a little bit. We're kind of tracking sides. Looks like the storm kind of near Wauseon and Swan. Looks like it's pretty much outrunning us at this point, which is fine. But we may kind of position ourselves for the stuff coming out of eastern Indiana and kind of see what that does and go from there.
Awesome, thank you for that. And like I said, we're waiting. I know Owen, I think, stepped off for just a second. I'm
yeah,
sorry
ahead,
about
Owen. That, Nick. I'm dealing with spotters, so I'm also dealing with that as well. So I'm going to step out for just a few minutes. And
okay,
I'll be back.
Yep, not a problem. Yep, go right ahead.
Right.
So again, just so you know, guys, Owen is also dealing with the Sandusky County spotter, so he's probably getting them activated and getting them set to go. So I'll kind of take things from here for just a little bit. So again, right now I want to take you into Cleveland and Lorain County area. Again, I'll tell you right now, the Weather Service meteorologist there's the radar site. That's where the Weather Service office is. They're getting hit extremely hard right now. They're in downtown Cleveland at the western sides there. That's going to be at the Cleveland International Airport right there. That's located just off of I-480 there near Olmsted Falls. You can see lots of purple showing up there. Very good signs of very heavy rain, gusty winds, and some large hail. That threat will continue. They continue to have that moving off to the south and to the east. I think it's a little too far due south and east, but nevertheless, North Olmsted, Cleveland, Lakewood, Elyria, Strongsville, Parma over the next 20 minutes, and then eventually Akron a little after midnight. Again, I think we'll have to see some more warnings issued on that. Working northeast over here towards Ashtabula, we continue to watch this line. This is all kind of the same line, but the northeastern part of this line gaining a little strength now. So Ashtabula getting hit very hard right now. Mender also getting hit very hard with some very heavy rain and gusty winds, maybe even some smaller hail right now. And then down here to Trumbull County, this cell here near Warren, I'm watching this one. This one is a little bit kind of out by itself. And so we're a little alone right now. So we'll have to watch and wait and see if this becomes anything of interest. There is a warning, but it's not for this cell. So we'll continue to watch those trends very closely here. I'm also checking for some additional reports, looking to see if anybody is saying anything else. Right now we don't have anything else to report. So that's kind of northeast Ohio. This line, very mean, an aggressive line. Lots of lightning, lots of extremely heavy rainfall. If you are driving, you're not going to be able to do much of that just because of the simple fact that there's a lot of very heavy rain. So pull off the road nearest gas station and just let this one pass through you. Let's take you back to northwestern Ohio real quick, because those of you near Toledo, you're getting hit very hard. Also down to Bowling Green. Up and down 75, going to get treacherous here for a little bit as this line of thunderstorms is still coming through. Definitely now seeing a good bowing structure coming into the western sides of Toledo. This is going to be south of the Ohio-Michigan line. I'm going to draw this one for you, and the little pounding you're hearing, I've got my window open. It's kind of blowing some wind into my door. I'll get that fixed in just a minute, but you can kind of see this curly Q and a little bit of a bowing structure. I'm concerned about this one right now. I think this may be kind of taking the kind of the priority, if you will, because of the fact of just the overall structure. I'm a little concerned there could be an enhanced pocket of damaging winds with this one, maybe even still some hail, especially back towards Wauseon there in southeastern Fulton County. Zach has kind of repositioned himself back to the west just a little bit, so that's why you don't see much going on in his stream right now, but they are still driving at this particular point in time. You'll still see a flash of lightning here and there, it looks like, based on where he's located. So again, right now downtown Toledo coming through Maumee, that area kind of where I think the worst of that particular line is going. We will put a track on this one just because of the simple fact. Try and get the yellow line off there. There we go. Oh, I thought I had it. Let me try that one more time. Take that off of there for you. There we go. Okay, so let's put a track on this line coming through downtown Toledo right now through Maumee, coming down to northeastern Henry County. This one they've got it moving. Then we'll move it down southeast at about 50 based on this, and we'll have to track it out a little bit, kind of a little far out. We'll see if it holds together or not. But nevertheless, Oregon, basically right now, you're getting into the thick of it. Northwood 1130, Bowling Green 1138, Fremont, good late evening to you. Those of you watching around Sandusky County, Skywarn 12:06 for you, Clyde at 12:18, Norwalk 12:44, Wellington after 1 o'clock. So again, that's kind of, I think, now the main concern, in addition to the line that's coming off the lake, is this cell that is coming through Toledo. Again, still exhibiting some of that backward C-shaped structure. We don't like seeing that. Typically in the middle part of that line is where the worst of that wind would be. And Zach, that's actually kind of coming through your neck of the woods there, Toledo, Perrysburg, into northern Wood County. So looks like you are kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're getting storms at home and while you're out and about.
Yeah, imagine that. I could have just stayed home and been just fine, but, it's fine.
We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning just coming in, too. This was issued for going to be Mahoning and Trumbull County. So I'm betting that is for that storm that is out ahead of the main line that I mentioned was going to potentially cause some problems. And yes, that's exactly what it is. So lots of yellow on your screen, but nevertheless now for the city of Youngstown. This is going to be for a cell coming through Niles. Again, we just talked about this one. I pointed out that it was by itself. It was alone. And now we have a warning with the potential for some large hail. So that's going to come across US 422. It will slide and come across I-80 toward Hubbard and Youngstown over the next little while. So just be prepared for that one. Same general theme here. Winds to 60 miles per hour, hail to quarter size. We do have now several public reports now, and even some confirmed reports coming in now out of Fulton County of at least dime size to penny size hail. I thought the golf ball may have been a little large.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, and you there?
Hey, I'm back. All I know is I heard the moo. We're going to get a tornado warning. We're going to go with a tornado warning for Grafton. So they're getting ready to issue a tornado warning for the Grafton area right now.
Going to be Owen?
I have no idea. I forgot where Grafton is.
Okay, we're going to see a red polygon pop up here, hopefully in the next couple of seconds here on the screen.
So Lorain County, the tornado
Lorain
warning
County,
will be
okay.
Lorain County. So they're getting ready to warn that storm cell near Grafton as a tornado warning.
Okay.
Actually, we're seeing a pretty good TVS signature, and I apologize I stepped away. I had to prepare my storm spotters, but what we're looking at is near Grafton, north of Litchfield, and there it is. So we do have tornado likely developing with strong rotation on this frontal boundary, interacting with a very good. So basically it's by Valley City right now. So if you're anywhere near the town of Grafton, just a heads up, we have a good TVS signature on this, and it's a nice hook, Nick. I'm not sure if you have that up on the screen.
Yeah, I do now.
But yeah, there's a really nice hook that's developed over the last couple of scans. It really wasn't, it was sort of there, but over the last scan, it has really blossomed with this. So over the last particular scan, it really came in, and you're starting to see that flange. And there we go. Tornado warning has now been issued for Lorain and Medina counties until 12 a.m. So again, a tornado warning now has been issued for Lorain and Medina counties until 12 a.m. So if you're anywhere in this area, we're going to go ahead and run down the basics for you. Make sure that if you're in Lorain or Medina counties that you are seeking shelter. Get to the lowest level of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So if you're anywhere in that area, make sure that you, again, are seeking shelter, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible, covering your neck and head as this continues to pass. So again, this is for Lorain and Medina counties to 11:45. So if you're anywhere in the polygon that's about to appear on the screen, or it already is, this is near the town of Litchfield and Medina, Brunswick, and to the southeast of Grafton. And it's moving just to the south of Valley City. So there will be a tornado warning there, or it's already issued, I should say, again until 11:45. Or no, actually that goes until 12 a.m., sorry. For this storm. So right now, this storm is moving at 50 miles an hour. Again, it's radar indicated. There's no indication, by spotters at this point, but they are seeing that strong return on radar. And again, if you're basically anywhere in the town of Medina or Brunswick, really you need to seek shelter. That is the main hotspots, the populated areas. But if you're also in Litchfield, is to your north. If you're in rural Litchfield and Medina, I know this area very well. Basically, you would be in Valley City. Anywhere in that particular area, you need to be seeking shelter. This, again, is getting ready to cross. Trying to see what town that is, or excuse me, that state route. But we're going to continue watching this one. We're also watching another area just to the north of this near Strongsville. So we're seeing another area that's just outside of the polygon that we're watching very closely. It's kind of going in and out, but it's along that line near the town of Brunswick. But the main line that we're getting some really good returns on this one, maybe even some scatter spikes with this one near the town of Grafton. So if you're anywhere in that tornado warning, go ahead and seek shelter, Nick.
Yeah, I've got our tornado warning safety slide is now up on the screen. So again, those of you right now, if you live in southeastern Lorain County, this does not include Elyria or Oberlin or Wellington. This does include Medina County, so the city of Medina, Brunswick, Seville, Lodi. You're pretty close. It's going to be a close call, but I think you're going to be in the all clear section. So, but right now, if you live in that area, get to the lowest level possible. It's going to be put as many walls between you and the outside. It's going to be the best place. It can be some things like a basement or anywhere below ground if you can. If you're in a mobile home, you got to get out of there. I know it's late at night, early in the morning time. A lot of people are probably asleep, so this is not a good time for this to be happening. But we mentioned that we could still see, obviously, a tornado or two, and I'll show the velocity scans here in just a couple minutes. But an alternative place, if you don't have a basement or anywhere below ground, get to the lowest level. There's going to be a closet or a room with no windows. Basically a room with no windows, and try to get to the center of your house. Oftentimes when tornadoes happen, get into the interior part of your room, and that'll kind of help keep you safe. As you're going to your safe place, do a favor and make sure you grab something to protect yourself from flying debris. And make sure you're also protecting your children. So take something with you, whether it's a helmet, a mattress, a sofa cushion, whatever the case may be. Please, please, please take that with you to your tornado safe places, and stay there until this tornado warning has been allowed to expire. So let's switch you over to radar here. Give me just a second. We'll pull this up, look at velocity here, and see if I can pull that up. I want to see if I can also get the de-aliased view of velocity. I'm not able to get that, but nevertheless, right now, base velocity is showing this one pretty good, and it looks like the newest scan is perhaps about to come in, so bear with me here, and I'll try to get that for you. It looks like it's coming in as it stands right now. So again, you can see the flashing red box with the purple outline. That is where we have that tornado warning, and boy, it's a little bit noisy right now coming out of Cleveland, but it's going to be right here. Yeah, that's a very good couple. Oh, and I wouldn't be surprised we've got something perhaps on the ground there right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough call because I'm looking at and I think we have somebody joining us, but we do have a tough call because we might be seeing some scatter spikes in there as well. So kind of a tough call. The couplet is there. We're definitely seeing it. So make sure that if you're in that area, you're seeking shelter. I'm also looking at some other things on the backside, and I'm also monitoring my own spotters here. So give me just a couple minutes there, and I don't know who joined us. Oh, okay. So give me just a couple minutes here. I got to let this clear out of my county, and I'll be back in full strength.
All right, sounds good. So again, right now I'm going to switch radar sources, so bear with me here for just a second. I do want to switch over to...
I do want to,
yeah,
Nick, before I go, the National Weather Service points out, the guy in charge right now issuing the warning saying this directly, verbatim, folks in Medina need to seek shelter now. And he puts that in all capital. So, yeah, if you were in Medina right now, he's telling you this is direct from the guy issued the warning. Yeah. So he's saying folks in Medina, between Medina and Brunswick, and even in Medina, seek shelter now. And that's very odd for them to say that out of their own in the chat room. So make sure that if you're taking that one very seriously if you're in those areas.
Yeah, no, and I know you're going to handle your spotters real quick, but when you're done, if you could update the video text, and you can just kind of stay off for a little bit.
I just
okay.
updated the severe coverage and tornado warnings.
Okay, so those of you right now in Medina, and I know that this is a very, very noisy radar signature, but those of you right now in Medina from the National Weather Service, get to your shelters immediately. Do not wait. They are telling you right now, they are stressing that very clearly from what Owen is saying in the chat room right now. They are telling you to get to shelter right now. Your velocity couplet is very, very aggressive right now just to the northwest of Medina, and really right now this entire line has the potential. It is gaining some very good strength. There's some very good readings with this, and it looks like we're going to have the potential for a good-sized tornado to potentially be coming into Medina. There's the latest scan, and Owen, I can actually, I know you're probably still off, but...
no, I'm here. Actually, I have a little bit of an update for you. Yeah, very, very good. So basically right now, the National Weather Service is stating verbatim that there is a tornado likely near State Route 18 heading into the middle of Medina.
Okay, so let's see if we can get that on correlation coefficient. I know we're really close to yeah. There's nothing on there right now. Plus,
NROT would be your best bet to see this.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's even close to the radar 2 with that. We're not able to see much.
Yeah, but if you go to 2, if you're switching on 2 and seeing NROT,
yeah,
that NROT is going to be your best way to look at it.
Okay.
And what we're seeing there in particular, the TVS signature is basically south. Well, it's kind of along that line, and what we're seeing there is this scattered coverage, but it's that like what you're showing there on your screen, Nick. That's what we're looking at, and when we see that, I know that's kind of an odd view, but we're looking at that as kind of not like a 3-body scatter spike, but in a sense it is. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. So between those two areas there, you can see that little bit of a kind of a flangey hook near the town of Medina on the reflectivity, and I think you got that up. That's the area that we're watching right now as it's wrapping around. So if you look at normalized rotation, you can see it go all the way past Litchfield, and you can see it wrap. So if you look at normalized rotation, you're seeing it wrap around, and then you're seeing it hit towards Medina and on the outside of Medina. So that's what you're looking at right there. You drew in that hook for me. That's the hook we're talking about.
Yep, so I've got that drawn on the screen now, and again, I was drawing, and you may have heard Owen's audio may have been a little bit louder there, but that's fine. We want you guys to hear what we're saying right now. So hopefully you can see the blinking red and purple box. I tried to fix that just a little bit so you can clearly see where we're talking about. I've kind of drawn on there. Now it has moved. It's basically right now right over top of Medina. We told you just about a minute or two ago that if you were in Medina, we needed you to get to your safe place. You need to stay there because this is right over top of you right now, and I would not be wanting to move out of my shelter right now. The next community in line, let's call out some roads here too. So I-71, I know it's late, but we may have some people driving. If you're along I-71 right now between Ashland and Cleveland, just stop where you're at. Don't even try driving through Medina County right now. It is not worth it. It's not worth risking it. Go ahead and get to a safe place. If you're in Medina County on 71, get to a safe place. But if you are in other places along 71 between Cleveland and Ashland, just stop and wait about 15 to 30 minutes. Let this pass through, and then you can resume your driving. But if you're along 71, get off at that next exit as soon as you can. I'm telling you right now, get off, get into a safe place, find a more substantial shelter. The rotation signature right over top of Medina right now. Chippewa Lake off to the south. This looks like this may stay just to your north, but I want you to be in your safe place. Brunswick, Valley City, Litchfield, still stay in your tornado safe places. The polygon is still in effect for you, and there's also an immense amount of rain and still some hail falling with that particular part of the line still at this time. So please stay in your safe places. We have not given you an all clear. Also in the path coming through right now, we got US 42, State Route 3, State Route 18, 162, and 94. All of you are in the tornado warning polygon. If I called out any of those state routes, or if you're anywhere close to those state routes in Medina County, get to your tornado safe places immediately. Wadsworth and Gloria Glens Park, the next community is also in line. Stay in your safe place until this tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Still very good rotation right over top of Medina. You can clearly see it has wrapped itself completely around the city of Medina. And we'll be, Owen, if you have something new from the National Service, just go ahead and interrupt me right away if you have anything. But latest scan now that we're going to be looking at now, we'll switch it back over to our other radar. You can see now it may have weakened just a little bit, but I don't want you to let your guard down in Medina. It is now east of Medina, coming right over top of 71. That is going to be just south of the I-71, I-271 interchange. Owen, you have something?
Nothing new. We just had a new severe thunderstorm warning issued. Not a big surprise on this, but there's a severe thunderstorm warning issued for Ashland, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Holmes, Huron, Lorain, Mahoning, Medina, Portage, Stark, Summit, and Wayne counties. I think that's the biggest polygon of the night. That's issued until 12:45, and they're indicating 70-mile-an-hour gusts now with this particular storm cell. And I know we got the tornado warning, but again, I want to interrupt that just briefly. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Ashland, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Holmes, Huron, Lorain, Mahoning, Medina, Portage, Stark, Summit, Wayne counties until 12:45 a.m., including 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts with that storm and quarter-size hail. So, if you're in those areas, make sure you're seeking shelter as well. But again, if you're in Lorain and especially the town of Medina or Brunswick, make sure that you're seeking shelter right now with this tornado warning. It is still very clear on radar, and we just want to make sure that you stay safe and have the storm. Again, get to the lowest level of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and cover your neck and head. If you're in a mobile home, not a good time to be inside of one. You need to take your tornado safe precautions, whatever that might be, but this is still indicated crossing between basically State Route 18, Brunswick, and Medina. So if you're in that area, again, make sure that you are seeking shelter. But we're pushing this off, and there's a new severe thunderstorm watch that has also been issued for our southern counties. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. I know Ken McNatt is with us as well. I think he'll be posting that new watch that's just been issued for ILN in that area. So down in Wilmington office. But so we got lots going on here, and we got in Medina, we have large trees being reported blown down in the city of Medina. That is by the fire department. So we're starting to see some of those remnants go on from that precursor of that storm. But anyway, that you're looking at, we may have had some damage there from the tornado, but that tornado warning, again, has been issued and continues to be issued here until 12 a.m. For Medina County, East Central Lorain counties. We expect an update on that warning here in just a minute, so hopefully we'll see that latest update, Nick.
Yeah, so I was going to pass along the new watch, but you guys are more than on top of it, and I'll show that watch here on air in just a little bit, but we obviously have more important information. So right now, that rotation signature has picked up again. It has wrapped itself up a little tighter once again. It has now crossed I-71. This is going to be near I-71 at the interchange. That is going to be, I'm not sure exactly what route that is. I tried to zoom in really tight there. I'll try to get you a route there, but that's going to be just east of the, okay, so that's 7157. 71 and Route 57. Interchange there. It's likely either an underpass or overpass. I don't think there's an official exit there, but that's where the tornado likely is. It is completely wrapped up. You're not going to be able to see this, not just because it's nighttime, but because it's completely wrapped up. This is kind of in a rural area, but this is why I told you, those on 71, please get off the road. It is imperative that you're not driving right now. And boy, let's switch you over to velocity. That is a very, very scary velocity signature we're seeing there, crossing 71. I know it's also a little noisy, but look at all of the greens, and then you have this little bit of yellow and red out ahead of this. Oh, and that's very concerning right now that we're seeing there. And I know he's listening to his spotters there for just a second, so I'll give him a second. But anywhere that you see along this line where you have the reds and greens that are touching, basically the entire line from Westfield Center all the way up by 71 to the borderline of where Medina and Summit County is. Look at the amount of greens and reds that are touching. That entire line is likely seeing some form of rotation right now, excuse me. And so that's kind of where things stand. Again, I know it's a little noisy and it's maybe a little hard to depict where all the rotations are, but the number one area that I'm concerned about right now is going to be east of Chippewa Lake and east of Gloria Glens Park. There's the updated tornado warning. We'll get that update to you in just a second, but that's going to be the rotation signature right there. Just crossed I-71. Very dangerous situation. We are now approaching midnight. Wadsworth, Seville, be in your safe places now. That's going to be, again, lowest level. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Very dangerous storm coming through Medina County right now. Our tone is definitely a little bit elevated right now just because of the fact it is nighttime. Most of you likely are asleep. This is not good timing right now to be seeing this particular thunderstorm coming across the neck of the woods. And Owen, you can chime in as soon as you're back with us.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just want to kind of give you a little bit of a recap. There is a train in the background that is not a tornado in my area, but just kind of coming out from the National Weather Service, we're seeing some other wording that they're using. So right now we seen there on rotation or on the velocity, it kind of loosened up just a little bit, wasn't as tight, but on the latest scan that just came back, they are stating that it is now quickly spinning back up to the southeast side of Medina, crossing I-71, as you pointed out. So that's where they're looking at right now. So they're saying in particular the people in the town of Wadsworth, you need to be seeking shelter. So Wadsworth is downstream just a little bit, almost to the edge of that polygon, but you need to seek shelter if you're in the town of Wadsworth, Chippewa Lake, anywhere in those areas. Make sure that you're seeking shelter at this time. There is a very nice curly Q, if you will, on the reflectivity about to cross I-70.
There for just a second. I'm also going to get Brant Warren added in here, so give me just a second. I'm going to add Brant in here, and we will get him brought in here. So we'll get Brant added in. Hopefully he is hearing this going off on his phone right now, and I believe he's actually coming in with us now. So while we get him added in, tornado warning continues here for Medina County. Again, as Owen alluded to, it is completely wrapped up right now southeast of Medina, just crossed 71. I think Owen is back with us, and I think Brant is with us. I'll bring them back in just a second. But right now, between Medina
we have a new
and Wadsworth,
tornado warning.
A new tornado warning. Okay, go ahead.
New
Owen.
tornado warning that has been issued for Medina, Stark, Summit, and Wayne counties. Again, new tornado warning for Medina, Stark, Summit, and Wayne counties until 12:30. So a brand new tornado warning has been issued. And what I was saying before I was cut off there, Nick, before I lost connection, we have a very nice, according to the National Weather Service, very nice curlicue structure crossing I-76 near Wadsworth and Norton. They're saying this word in all capital letters, take warning or take shelter now. The new tornado warning is coming out. As it is, there's a very, very strong, and this, if you're looking on NROT now, Nick, you could see it very clearly coming up to I-76 in the town of Wadsworth. That is very strong as it's continuing. So our tone's going to change a little bit. You see that new tornado warning that's been issued for, basically it extends all the way down to Canton. So we're looking at part of Akron being in the tornado warning, Brewster, I can't say that one ever. You could say that later. Just outside of the warning, New Franklin, North Canton, Orville. If you're anywhere in those areas, you are in the new tornado warning. They're using some pretty strong language in this because we're seeing a pretty good couplet on the radar. So southeastern Medina counties, Stark counties, southern Summit County, eastern Wayne County, you're under a new tornado warning until 12:30. And again, for some of you in Medina County, this is a new warning, not an old one, a new one that is until 12:30 a.m. And these storms are moving at about 50 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation, but it is very strong right now. And we're seeing some warnings pop up all across here as we continue. Across back in the other areas, we don't want to take too much focus away from that, but we do have these tornado warnings. Lucas, Wood, and Sandusky counties, we're seeing hail. I'm getting reports of that from our spotters on the ground. Wind is not really a factor, but we're seeing hail.
And Brant, I'm going to let you kind of talk here for just a couple of minutes. I'm sharing this video a couple different places. I've got the radar with all of the tornado warnings in effect. There are some very big population centers, Akron and Canton, in the path of this one. Perhaps you could just again review our tornado shelters and where everybody should be right now.
Yeah, so if you live in a mobile home, can you hear me okay? That's the first.
Yeah, you're good.
If you live in a mobile home, you want to get out. You want to get to the nearest sturdy structure. That could be that is a solid foundation structure that is preferably in the ground. And if you're in a sturdy structure, you want to go to the center of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So that could be an interior bathroom. That could be an interior closet under your stairwell. Just put as many walls between you, the windows, and the outside as you possibly can, because that's going to save your life in the event that your house, gets damaged from this or debris flies in windows. So we don't want you near windows. We want you in the center room. And if you can't find that, go to your bathroom, take a mattress, take a helmet, take anything sturdy and thick that you can put over yourself and lay in the bathtub, because doing these things is going to save your life right now.
You are absolutely right, Brant. And one of the thing is with this, again, it's a very dangerous situation. In particular, the reason it is so dangerous is, number one, it's nighttime.
It's night.
Number two, if there is a tornado, it is rain wrapped. No doubt about it. This would be hidden. This would be rain wrapped tonight. So there's rotation now near Pigeon Creek and Wadsworth. So we're seeing two different areas of rotation here near the Pigeon Creek area and Wadsworth that we're watching for particular tornadoes. Now, those of you watching, we're having it's a pretty downstream, it's a pretty large tornado warning to include all the way into the cities of Canton. So we're seeing that. So if you're in Brewster, Massillon, Canton, North Canton, New Franklin, Orville, Barberton, Hartville, even in portions of that, you're seeing this tornado warning for area. Louisville in Ohio, East Canton, anywhere in those areas, North Industry, any one of those particular areas, you are in the tornado warning. And as Brant said, make sure that you seek your tornado-safe shelter positions now. So we're continuing to watch this.
I just want to say why we say it is rain-wrapped and it is nighttime. If you try to go out and see this thing and start sightseeing, you're going to put yourselves in harm's way and potentially cause a lot more injuries or even death that you don't want to happen. So even if you do go out and try to look for it, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to know it's there until it's on top of you, because the rain is wrapped around it. It's invisible, and if you get a little bit of lightning, you're still not going to see anything, because again, it's wrapped in rain. So it's a very, very dangerous situation with tornadoes at night, and we stress that. That's why we tell you to not try to look for it as it's heading towards you, because you're not going to see it.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Brent. It's one of these things that we're looking at. So this storm is very intense, and we've seen some reports of hen egg size hail, or almost tennis ball size hail, but 10 size egg hail, 2-inch hail, if you will, coming out of the Cleveland area. So this entire structure is very strong. We got a lot fueling on the backside. You can kind of see the structure bow out just a touch. So we're looking at that, and we'll continue to see those signs of rotation that we want to make sure that everyone is seeking shelter again. We don't want to take any focus off the rest of the severe thunderstorm warnings, but this is the most critical thing right now. Pretty much anywhere else on the screen that you're seeing those warnings, I know we're zoomed into the area of Wadsworth, but we're going to take a zoom out just a little bit here in just a second, because we want to look at some other areas now too, near the town of Copley and Wadsworth and Barberton. That is the 3 areas of rotation that we're watching. There's actually 3 particular areas that we're watching. Barberton would be number 1. We would be looking at the town of Copley, number 2, and Barberton as well. So we're seeing 3 areas of rotation right now.
Yeah, and also one other point that number one, Kyle Adams is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes as well. He's wrapping up a couple of things. He doesn't have much activity in his neck of the woods in West Central Ohio, so he's going to join us here in just a few minutes. But I'm also keeping my eye on the Fort Wayne area. That line has begun to taking some increased amount of lightning. I'm also in particular watching on the north side of Fort Wayne there. So, and Kyle, actually, his hometown is in North Canton, so he'll join us in just a couple of minutes to talk about some updates there. So, real quick, I'm going to stop the radar because I want to talk about who's in and who's out right now for the Polygon. I'm going to turn off the severe thunderstorm warnings, and we're going to strictly talk about the tornado warnings. I'm actually going to fill those in real quick so that you can see these. I thought I had that.
Yeah, I think
Let's
the
see.
warning
Let me
did
take a look
expire
here
in
real
time,
quick
but
here. I thought I had that turned
you're
on.
clear to my
And there we
opinion.
go. Okay,
You're
so
WFO.
the fill is going to be in a purplish color. Again, just to kind of help you recognize who's in and who's out. So Akron, you're very close. I would just, again, for the sake of being safe and with the signatures that we're seeing being your safe place, Barberton, North Canton, Canton, Navarre, Orville, Clinton, and Minerva. All of you be in a safe place right now until these tornado warnings have been allowed to expire. This is a very large Polygon, and Brant, based on the signatures that we have, I think that's a very safe call because it is completely rain-wrapped and it could cycle multiple times.
Yeah, and this is one of the strongest signatures we've seen, or personally I've seen around here in a great while, Nick. So some of these areas might not be used to this kind of stuff, and you're freaking out and you don't know what to do. Follow the steps we just told you, and that's going to save your life and let you see another day. So, but this area is not used to this type of strength of rotation. I mean, we just don't see it up in Northeast Ohio that often, so it's a very, very dangerous situation, and a lot of people are probably very confused.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave the Polygon up there for just a second because, again, I want everybody to get a good understanding of who's in and who's out. This is a very large portion of I-77, also I-76, and portions of I-71. If you are thinking about or you are traveling along those interstates, please get off those roads. Do not be traveling right now. It is not a good time to be driving, well, especially on these interstates. I'll tell you, that's not a very good place to be right now. But you've got Wadsworth, you've got Marshallville, Dalton, Brewster, Canton Green, North Canton, and there's many, many, many other communities in there. There are probably dozens of communities just because of the size of the Polygon, but that's just the nature of the beast. That's where we are right now. I do want to take you back over to Velocity and show you that the worst of this appears to be over the community of Doylestown right now. That's where we're seeing some strong returns there of some reds and greens very close together. Again, it's a very noisy signature, but part of that is because this is a very intense thunderstorm. There's an immense amount of lightning, and I will say that the overall organization may have tweaked down just a little bit. But Brant, we cannot let our guards down because we have still this tornado warning, and it extends all the way down to Canton. We're going to be on this one for a little while.
Yeah, and the environment that we have today is very suitable for this kind of action. We've been talking about this. We've been stressing it for the past couple of days that we're going to see this activity. And unlike a couple last week, Nick, when we had that system come through, this atmosphere is much more primed, much more ripe to produce this kind of action. So this isn't going anywhere. This is here for the long run. As we said, it's going to be here until about 5 or 6 in the morning. So we're going to be here with you. But these storms are not going to die out as they continue to head southeast, Nick.
One thing, Nick, too, we got some reports coming in now near Brunswick, so in Medina County. There is some reports coming in of ping pong ball size hail. So that's 1.5 inch hail. So we're looking at ping pong ball size hail. That's again 1.5 inch hail near the town of Brunswick in Medina County. Do want to do a couple things. The severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled for Lucas, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Wood counties. And give me 1 second. Severe thunderstorm warning canceled, Jeff. So, and also the tornado warning is expired for Medina, but we do have that additional one that was issued.
Yeah, good points there. So that's kind of where things stand right now. We're getting a lot of questions in the comment section about places that are not even close to here. So, number one, if we're not talking about you, or you have yet to see your community on the map, I wouldn't even be thinking about being worried about anything in nature right now in regards to this particular storm. So that's just where things stand. Let me get you back over to radar. I do want to put a track on this, and I'm going to track this kind of as a line. And I'll tell you, folks, looking at it from this perspective, from this source, there's also an immense amount of hail. You heard Owen say they've got some reports of ping pong ball size hail, but understand that there's a lot of purple on the map. So let's put a track on this. They've got the tornado warning currently set to be moving southeast at about 55, and that's pretty fast for a tornado warning. We don't see that all that often, especially moving at that particular speed. So with that right now, we'll track this as a line because any part of this line could produce a tornado warning at any time. Let me redraw that. That was a little too slow. But again, tracking off here towards the southeast at about 50 to 55. Canton, 1213. That's going to be the next big populated area. Akron, you're getting it now. Hopefully you've already been in your safe place, and hopefully you're staying there for the long haul because it's going to be at least 10 or 15 minutes before we can give you the all clear. Green, you're going to be here at about midnight. So in 3 minutes, you've got 3 minutes to be to your safe place. Dalton, you've got, let's see what they've got here for you, 12:05. You've got about 7 minutes. Worcester, you're not in the warning, but you're really close to it. You've got about 4 minutes before the worst of it starts to come into your neck of the woods. We talked about Canton coming into Brewster at 12:13. You got about, again, 15 minutes to be prepared in your safe place. Canal Fulton, North Canton, Massillon, all very densely populated areas across most of Stark County. That's why we are concerned right now about your safety. We want you to get to that safe place, and we'll continue to watch things very closely. Again, we don't see, we have this amount of population underneath the warning, and it looks like they've just now taken Medina County out. Owen, it looks like.
Yeah, no, that was canceled before, but we had a little technical issue. Also, just to keep in mind as well, so we're looking at this storm. It's not quite as tight as it once was, but we are seeing still 2 to 3 vortices. National Weather Service has pointed out 2 to 3 vortices that they are seeing that are throughout northeast Wayne County and Summit County. So they're still seeing 2 to 3 couplets there on the radar. So again, you want to make sure that you are seeking shelter if you're in those areas. And it's pretty clear to see on reflectivity near the town of New Franklin. You can see that particular kind of wrap around, but near Canal Fulton as well. So they went ahead and again let the other warning go for Medina. So if you're in Medina County, you are no longer under a tornado warning, but the warning now does continue. They took Medina County out of the warnings. What happened on that second one, by the way? They trimmed the warning back just a little bit, I should say, and took Medina County out of it. Is what happened in the new update. And so Medina County is no longer under a tornado warning. There we go. Okay, and I'll toss it to Brand here in just a moment. And we're getting reports again of hail coming out of that area of 1 to 2 inches. And Brand, I tell you, hail it's pretty large. So you're not only dealing with some possible tornadoes that are rain wrapped, you're now dealing with large hail. And hail, let me tell you, is very indicative, all right, of how strong the storms can be.
Yes, because the updraft determines how strong the storm is, and when you get these large hail falling, that indicates that the storm is very healthy, and it's got a lot of, for lack of a better word, oomph. Oh, and it's got a lot of power to go with it. And looking at the radar right now, I'm looking at some wind values here, and if within the tornado warning, and the radar, of course, this is a little bit off the ground, so it's not right near the ground, so it might differ. You might be getting faster or a little bit slower winds than what the radar is depicting. But right now, we're looking at upwards of 80 miles per hour. So on top of the hail and on top of the tornado, there is a very strong winds, straight line winds that can do a lot of damage in this. Looks like.
And we think Kyle Adams. Is he
Yes.
there, Kyle? Kyle? Kyle! All right.
He can't join right now. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, while you're doing that, and Brant, you were so right on this strong updraft. National Weather Service points out, kind of to your point, that there's rotations again. Still know those two areas of Cannell, Fulton, and Portage, like we talked about, and they've strengthened a little bit with some decent structure. Now, there's still some TVS signatures there, so we're still watching that. And Greentown now need to take shelter. So if you're anywhere in Uniontown, which I didn't talk about, Uniontown, Cannell, Fulton, or Canal Fulton, and Greentown, you need to seek shelter. Radar is indicating wind gusts showing up right around 75 miles an hour. So you need to be in your tornado-safe shelters. And National Weather Service also points out the Doppler radar is showing 70 to 80 mile-an-hour winds in the Summit County, northeastern Wayne County storms, and that's at 2,000 feet, Brant. So at 2,000 feet, we're showing 70 to 80 mile-an-hour winds, so we can only imagine what there are at the surface.
Yeah, and as this thing gets further and further away from the radar, it's going to look more distorted, and we're going to get a worse and worse picture, per se, of what actually is happening on the ground. That's the one problem with the radars that we have now, is that the Earth is curved and the beam is straight. So the further it gets away, the further you're looking up into the storm. So it can differ what the radar is showing us and what actually is happening on the ground. So you could be seeing a little bit faster than that, and I'm upwards of 90 miles per hour in some spots. It could just differ based on what the radar is telling us.
Yeah, and with that, Kyle, you can step on in here. Good evening, or I should say now good morning to you, so it's after midnight, but you're familiar with this area. This is kind of your hometown. Oh, I thought I had Kyle there. Yep, go ahead, Kyle, there.
Doing a few updates over on my other page for Northwest Ohio where I live. But yeah, North Canton is my hometown where I grew up. And yeah, the storm that we're looking at, I heard Owen talking earlier. As I just jumped in, I tried to catch the tail end of his conversation, but near Canal Fulton and near the Portage Lakes, near Greentown, North Canton, Uniontown, all very familiar places. Right now, it looks as if I've been trying to follow this storm as best I could, because I know earlier when it was near Medina, it had that really prominent hook echo with it. A little bit harder to see right now. I think that's why, as I kind of caught the tail end of the conversation as well, as it moves further away from the radar, you just don't see that, and that's what this storm's doing, moving off to the southeast. But the one thing's for sure with the history of this storm, now that we're in southern Summit County and moving into northern Stark County near Canal Fulton and Greentown and North Canton and eventually Massillon and Canton, a pretty, also heavily populated area, just as Medina was and previous areas this storm has been to the north. You have to take cover. Here we are now into Wednesday morning, and as I kind of caught the tail end of your conversation, the radar not showing necessarily that couplet as it was earlier with this storm in Medina County, but that the winds with this storm could easily be gusting, upwards of 70 miles per hour. So that could easily be, the strength of a small tornado anyway, right? So just keep that in mind. But right now, especially if you live in the Portage Lakes area, North Canton, Greentown, Uniontown, even Massillon and Canton, I think now is really the time that you should probably get to the safe space, whether it's an interior room or away from windows or even in your basement if you have one.
Yeah, and I tell you what, by the way, if you don't know, meteorologist Kyle Adams is joining us. That's who you're here speaking. So we have a professional on the case. I say that, well, in good fun. But, We have Kyle Adams, meteorologist Kyle Adams, with us. Want to report too. I don't want to take too much focus off the tornado warning, but back in our county, the warnings were expired near Toledo. And if we're not looking at your county, we apologize, but we stay focused in on the tornado warnings while they're active. But looking back towards Lucas County, we're seeing live reports just about 5 minutes ago of golf ball size hail coming out of Lucas County again. So that storm that's approaching on the border right now in Monroe counties and Lucas County is producing some pretty good hail. And also back near Fort Wayne, that storm cell in Allen County in Indiana, that's also producing some pretty good wind. I don't want to take too much focus on that off the tornado warning, but definitely all across the board, you need to make sure that you're keeping an eye to the sky and for these particular warnings if they should pop. Now, I can tell you one thing Kyle pointed out, you're not seeing them on a radar. You're seeing a little bit of the hook, though, I think, Kyle, now near Canal Fulton. I keep saying that
Canal
right.
Fulton, yep.
Yeah, you're seeing that hook, and you're seeing that kind of that little bit of an inflow notch there. And on a normalized rotation, it is very very clear. We're seeing mainly two areas right now. One coming into the town of Massillon, and just past New Franklin, coming into North Canton and near Greentown. So those are two areas. We're still getting some more hail reports out of Lucas County as well, live. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here in the next few minutes on that storm.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to step in and just kind of be specific here. The latest radar scans continue to show a pretty decent looking couple that's going to be coming basically right now down towards Massillon. That's going to be crossing State Route 21. It's not far from Sluggers and Putters Amusement Park. There's also Clay's Park Resort is over there. You've got Erie Avenue and Lafayette Drive is over here. And there's also several different lakes and other bodies of water. There's also, you got the Tuscarawas River's not far from here. And as you work down towards, not far from Massillon, you've got, again, State Route 21, State Route 236, also in the path of this. And just kind of keep that in mind. But there's kind of another area I'm watching too, guys, up towards Greentown. Not the current scan, but the scan prior looked a little interesting. It may have just been because it's so noisy right now from the Cleveland radar, but I'm watching that area very closely as well. So again, still tornado warning continuing for virtually all of Stark County. This is, again, one of the larger polygons that we've seen, but again, given the nature of the storm, there's a potential for that anywhere along this line could pop up a quick isolated tornado. But nevertheless, North Canton, Massillon, Brewster, over towards Minerva. You got downtown Canton. There's many other communities here too. You got Hills and Dales, North Industry, Navarre, East Canton. You also got Louisville, not to be confused with Louisville, Kentucky, but you've also got Greentown, a lot of I-77. That's a very large portion coming through portions of Summit and Stark County. Summit County are almost in the all clear, we think, at this point. Maybe a couple more scans, and you guys can kind of come out of your tornado shelters. We'll give it a little bit longer, but very large tornado warning polygon continues, and again, that's kind of where we are. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. It looks like to be a pretty decent couplet right between Massillon and Canal Fulton there along State Route 21.
I think, Nick, like you mentioned too, like the velocity imagery is noisy not only there between Canal Fulton and Massillon, but also between Greentown and North Canton. As you mentioned earlier, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's certainly something there. And then eventually that storm. So I think there's two spots. I think there's the one in between Canal Fulton and Massillon, like you mentioned, over the Clay's Park area, Route 21, and then Greentown and North Canton, probably moving right over the airport, the Akron-Canton Airport, which is right in that area right now, and then eventually down toward Louisville and Canton, East Canton. So those are the two areas that I'd be most concerned with right now. That's what I'm seeing on radar.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the latest scan, Brant, I'm not sure which software you're looking at. The latest scan now, if it wasn't noisy before, it's quite noisy now. Lots of yellows popping up with the reds there, but I still think there's something between Canal Fulton and Massillon for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's kind of been bouncing back and forth here, but one of the good things that we tend to look at when we're dealing with tornado warnings is I actually just got that scan through Nick's IC, right, we were talking about. But a good thing that we're seeing as of right now is with these tornado warnings we look at the correlation coefficient, which can tell us that if there's debris in the air, if there's wood or sheet metal or grass or trees, there's something that's being lifted up in the air and the radar is hitting that. And so far, Nick, Owen and Kyle, I mean, you can chime in on this too, but I have not seen anything definitive that would throw up the red flags to say that something were on the ground.
I'm not seeing anything like that either. At least I would kind of point out that's kind of sticking out from one spot or another. But it looks like they've dropped Wayne County out of the tornado warning, so now it's just extreme southeastern Summit in most of Stark County. And again, that tornado warning will continue. Looks like that's going to go until 12:30, so we still have another 20 minutes on this one. Again, remember, this is the same warning that started all the way back in Medina County. It's got a little more ways to travel before we are allowed to drop that off. And I real quick will point out, and I'll switch radar sources briefly because I do not want to forget about the rest of Northeast Ohio, not to take away from the tornado warning, but we still have a slew of severe thunderstorm warnings from Ashtabula County for Geauga County, Portage, Trumbull, Mahoney. You've also got Ashland and Huron and Lorain and Medina, Holmes, Stark, Summit, and Cuyahoga. I've probably missed a couple of counties, but this line is pretty mean and nasty looking. It means business. There could be winds between 60 and 70 miles per hour, along with occasional bursts of hail, potentially to the size of quarters. And guys, some of the one things that I'm looking at here, northwestern Stark County, Kyle, there's a lot of purple, so there could be, it may not necessarily be quarter-size hail, but there's a decent amount of hail falling in northwestern Stark County right now.
Nick, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, right over Canal Fulton there. And,
Yeah.
Yep. I can't tell. Go ahead, Owen.
No, I was just going to jump in here just a second. So you're right, Nick. They canceled the tornado warning there for Wayne County. They continue the tornado warning moving southeast to 50. They're getting some damage reports in right now. I don't want to speculate on those at this point. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's being issued right now for Mahoning, Portage, Stark, Trumbull counties until 1:15, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So, again, a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Mahoning, Portage, Stark, and Trumbull counties until 1:15. Quarter-size hail has been indicated. So we are getting some reports of trees down, and in the area that some of this storm and this tornado warning has happened, there's some speculation there, so I don't want to put them out there just yet until we get some clarification, but we're seeing a lot of winds there. We also just got out of the Akron-Canton Airport reports of 58 knots, I should say, out of the observation station there. So we're seeing a 58-knot wind gust coming out of the airport, which, hey, Kyle, what is that miles per hour?
58 knots?
Yeah.
Ooh. 66. Okay.
Yeah, 66, 67.
All right.
So I remembered another way. I'll tell you later. But 66 at 58 knots. So that's being automatically reported out of the ASOS station there in Akron and Canton. So definitely some strong winds. And that's where we're seeing those damage reports come in of trees being toppled over. So more of a straight line threat. Hopefully this is starting to, and on the last couple of scans, I think you would agree with me on this, Kyle, that it is starting to straighten out just a little bit and fan out, which is a good sign. Although we do have the tornado warning still, so don't let your guard down. But hopefully it's starting to come out of that particular situation.
Yeah, just in the last couple of scans, but as we've been talking about right now, like right over the Massillon area, I would still not let your guard down, that's for sure. I have friends actually texting me that live in the North Canton area right now, in the Louisville area, and they're like, do we need to go to our basement? No. Yes, you should probably go to your basement, even if you live over in Louisville, even though the storm, as the National Weather Service is reporting, where the possibility of that tornado is right over Massillon right now. So, but all of Stark County, I would, just with the history of this storm. I mean, it's a large polygon, as you guys mentioned, but yeah.
And Brant, do you want to tell us what "don't let your guard down" means?
That's a reference to the last video. Don't let your guard down. Keep an eye out to the sky. Have multiple ways to get warnings. Don't go to sleep if you're in here, because anywhere in this warning, because that could put you in harm's way. So stay alert, stay up. If your power goes out, have some battery backups, although it's probably too late to charge a battery now. Hopefully you have one, and have a weather radio. We stress those. So if you have a weather radio, go ahead and turn it on. Have multiple ways to get warnings. And if you need to go to the basement and you need to hear us, turn us up all the way, or take your phone or take your computer, laptop with you, whatever you can do. Just have multiple ways to get warnings, and just stay weather alert.
Okay, Kyle. They rounded up on the report, so 68. So you win.
Yeah, okay. I just saw that, so that's what.
All right, I owe you another $20.
I think that's what I said originally, right?
Did you do the popsicle sticks earlier?
I did, yeah.
Oh, good. I'll watch that later when I go to bed. That'll put me to bed. All right.
Yeah. So real quick, guys, I do want to touch base and just kind of go over our tornado precautions again. We still have the warning. So again, hopefully those of you in Canton, North Industry, Beach City, Boulevard, over towards Louisville, and then you also have Minerva. Just real quick again, to get to the lowest level, best place, basement or below ground. If you don't have that, bathroom, closet, or a room with no windows in the center part of your house, mobile home, you got to get out of there. But if you can't, again, get to that centermost spot. I know we know that mobile homes are not the greatest places, but sometimes you kind of have no choice. And that also means you get as many walls between you and the outside. Take something with you, helmet, mattress, sofa cushion, something of that nature, again, just to kind of protect your head. And also make sure you're doing the same shelter and protection for your children. And if you don't have that protection, make sure you're hovering over them and protecting them from flying debris as well. We'll take you back over here to radar for just a second. I do have the velocity and reflectivity kind of on a split screen for you to kind of help, so we don't have to switch back and forth between products. But agreeing with Owen and Kyle and Brant, this has kind of definitely fanned out a little bit over the last couple of scans, although we do have a new little green circle starting to show up there. So again, maybe some weak spots of a mesocyclone trying to develop once again just to the south of Massillon. And we'll watch that very close again. Guys, this one goes for another, we got 14 more minutes yet. And then the Weather Service in Pittsburgh takes over after this. And there's obviously a severe thunderstorm watch. I'll show that graphically here once we can get this tornado warning to drop off. Or if we don't, then I'll show it graphically when we get a second to do so. But nevertheless here, this area in Canton still needs to be in safe place. Canton, your time's about up. You've had several minutes to prepare. Minerva, you're still got plenty of time to prepare. Probably about 5 or 10 minutes yet. Same for North Industry Boulevard and Brewster and even Beach City. So again, just kind of be prepared. If you don't see a tornado, it's a very clear conclusion that you're going to see strong, gusty to maybe even damaging winds in some cases. I'm switching it back over to this to kind of show you this, and we'll zoom it out just a little bit and updated track on it for you. Those of you downstream, Tuscarawas County, Carroll County, maybe even portions of Columbiana County, I'm not, Owen, you would be able to answer whether or not Pittsburgh is making any kind of designation as to what they may or may not do with this. But the latest track brings it in there within the next 15 to 20 minutes.
It's really been kind of quiet. And one of the things I'm looking at right now is the power outages. I know we have widespread power outages being reported. And right now, out of the First Energy side, we're seeing about 28,000 people roughly being affected right now. So we do have those widespread power outages coming in, especially along some of these lines and some of these leading edge, especially in the hardest areas of like Wayne, Medina, Lorain. But they're really widespread. I mean, we're seeing that in those areas. It's concentrated more in the northeast portion, but we're continuing to see those come in all across here. Of the northeastern portion of Ohio mainly. You do also have some scatter ones back towards the Toledo area, but mainly it's all concentrated here in northeast Ohio. So they've kind of been quiet over there in the Pittsburgh office at this point, but we're continuing to watch another strong line of storms that's coming in through southern Huron, Richland, Seneca, and Ashland. So we're continuing to see that. The rest of this line is going to exhibit some strong winds as we continue to charge to the southeast.
Yeah, and with that, I've left the track up there, so you've got, again, Sebring, Minerva, Dover, New Philly, Urchisville, Wellsville, and even eventually East Liverpool. Again, that's all within the next hour, really, and maybe even less than that in most cases, so just something to keep an eye on. Real quick, while I do have just a quick second, I'm going to turn off the radar. I'm going to leave the warnings up there, but I do want to point out the new watch that is in place. You should see that pop up on your screen. So you've got Dayton, Clark County through Columbus, Coshocton, Wheeling, down to Parkersburg and Chillicothe. This watch goes until 6 a.m. Main threats, hail to 1.5 inches in diameter and wind gusts to 70 miles per hour. And then obviously we still have our other severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 3 a.m. That encompasses places like Lima to Mansfield to Youngstown. So I just wanted to kind of real quick graphically show that. I'll turn that back off and we'll zoom you back into Stark County where we still have that tornado warning for another 10 minutes. And Owen, guys, I would expect we're going to get a new severe thunderstorm warning here pretty soon.
Yeah, they canceled the tornado warning for Summit, so that one will eventually be trimmed back. But they've continued it for Stark there until 12:30. So we're going to have to wait and see. Again, it's still showing signs of rotation on the latest scan. So it's still exhibiting near Massillon, as Kyle pointed out a few minutes ago. We're starting to see that pick up just a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens coming out of Cleveland. They've been kind of quiet for right now, but I think they're getting ready to they're going to have to pull the trigger here if they're going to do something or issue a new warning in the next couple of minutes. And if it were to be downstream of this, you're looking at you're going into Carroll County and Tuscarawas County and even portions of Columbiana County possibly as it pushes downstream. So this is a very large tornado warning. When they first issued it, this has been a very long, if you will, or elongated tornado warning. So it's been in effect for quite a while now, just getting to Canton, and it's still valid. You can still see some of the little curlicues coming off there by North Industry. So wouldn't be surprised to see some stuff there in the North Industry area in particular. That's the area of my concern, because looking at normalized rotation, there's really two areas that I'm looking at. The one, that little inlet by Massillon, and by North Industry is kind of where I'm seeing. Just to update you a little bit on the power outages in Lorain County, we've had roughly 11,000 people without power right now. Cuyahoga County is at 4,600, Medina County is at 3,700, Summit County is at 3,100, Geauga County is at 2,300, and we'll talk about the rest later, Nick.
Yeah, that's a lot of power outages, though, in those two counties, so that tells us that a pretty significant storm has come through. Something else I'm noticing, there's an outflow boundary associated with this entire line. You saw me pop up a quick track briefly. I tracked it from Seneca County all the way over to Youngstown, just to kind of give everybody, again, a quick heads up downstream. But even though this entire line may not exhibit severe winds or tornadic activity or hail, there's a lot of very heavy rain, and I imagine we're going to see a lot of lightning for some time. You see the time and temperature. Just here in Columbus, we're still at 65, and it's well after midnight. I did step outside briefly just to kind of get a feel of the atmosphere. It's still rather juicy and muggy, so it tells me that we're going to see these storms probably sustain still for at least a few more hours. We still have tornado warning there for portions of Stark County. We'll take you over to the split screen again to look at velocity and reflectivity side by side. Again, we have this area here kind of south of Massillon near North Industry, and even maybe on the eastern sides of Canton a little bit as well, but again, it's really hard to kind of tell exactly which one could stick out from another, just because, again, the overall structure has kind of changed over the last several scans, and the newest scan coming in now kind of, at least on the reflectivity side, Canton is right over top of you now. We've given you more than ample time to prepare. Bolivar, you're kind of right. I know you're kind of set on the county line. Brewster and Beach City, they did clear you guys out of the warning polygon, but you're still pretty close to the polygon, so maybe, again, just out of a safety precaution, maybe just think about staying there. Then over here towards Minerva, you're going to be kind of the next town. I know, you're kind of on that county line as well, but just be in the safe place, and that's kind of where things stand. But as we kind of zoom things out again just a little bit, we still have the warnings for basically from Ashland County down to Holmes County, all the way up to Mahoney and Trumbull County, again, for winds up to 70 miles per hour, and that's away from this tornado warning in itself as well. So, Owen, anything else? Or Kyle, I know both of you guys are monitoring the Weather Service offices, and Brant, you can chime in too if you guys are seeing anything new, but I think we will at least probably see some kind of warning coming soon for maybe places like New Philly and over towards Libsyn.
Yeah, and I think at the least we'll see a new severe thunderstorm warning. I'm looking at some pictures, Nick, out of back in Cuyahoga County as this was coming out, and there's some trees down on houses, fairly large trees too. So that's a good indication of the wind. I mean, this thing originated over an hour and a half ago as it came off Lake Erie into parts of Cuyahoga County. And we're seeing very large trees down from the National Weather Service in Cleveland. The reports are kind of flowing in here slowly but surely. But there is this storm is definitely packing a punch. This entire line is packing a punch.
I just jumped a little bit. I had a big lightning bolt.
I heard that.
Me. Yeah, that was nice. And the thunder rolls. So, yeah, and to kind of piggyback off what Brand said, they're continuing to, those reports are continuing flowing. A lot of tree damage coming in there right now. Uh-oh, what do we got? Ruh-roh. Okay. So PBZ, or the National Weather Service out of Pittsburgh, has issued a severe thunderstorm warning tagged with a tornado possible for Hancock, Beaver, Butler, Lawrence, Carroll, Columbiana, Jefferson, and Tuscarawas counties. So there's your answer, Nick.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that.
Severe thunderstorm warning until 1:15.
Yep, I was also kind of paying attention over into Paulding County and Allen County, Indiana. Kyle, kind of your neck of the woods over there. That line coming through. Thankfully, it's not severe, but boy, that line kind of still looks fairly intense. Lots of heavy rain and some hail potentially with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've obviously been keeping an eye on that one. There were some storms that are now just to the south of Fort Wayne, had exhibited what looked to be like kind of the beginnings of a bow echo signature, but yeah, none of them are at severe limits. But monitoring the NWS, a lot of these have the easily potential of 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. Now, a new mesoscale discussion was put out for the stuff that's developing just to the south and east of Fort Wayne not too long ago with, I think they had said like the possibility of another watch there for like 40%. So some of those storms they said might begin to develop over the next hour or so, but even with them saying about a 40% chance for a watch, that still doesn't really concern me a whole lot. I definitely think like the storms that are now moving into Paulding County and here in Putnam County and Hancock County, even where I live, I'm seeing lightning out my window right now, quite a bit of lightning. But the worst of these storms are definitely in Northeast Ohio. I'm not nearly as concerned about this in Northwest Ohio as I am over in Northeast Ohio.
And I do want to say on that new severe thunderstorm warning, they did continue the tornado possible tag. So, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not too surprised with that one. I'm looking at all kinds of different things here, but so this does include our first West Virginia county, obviously Hancock County. There's again another very large polygon, but again, it's any part of this line could exhibit a quick isolated tornado. I'm not going to say spin up because tornadoes don't necessarily have to be spin ups to be significant. If one happens at your house, that's considered significant to you. So changing my word on that just a little bit, but nevertheless, a quick isolated tornado is possible along this entire line. So we'll stay with this at least until the tornado warning expires, and we'll see what the Weather Service out of Pittsburgh elects to do if they do decide maybe to go with maybe they'll go with an embedded tornado warning. Who knows? But current track right now: Salem 1240, East Liverpool 1 o'clock, Economy it's gonna be at 111, Weirton at 113, Steubenville 116. And then it's kind of moving out of our coverage area at that point over towards places like Pittsburgh. That'll likely be after the 1 o'clock time frame. So, yes, obviously the strongest part of and just kind of bounce off what Kyle said, the strongest storms have clearly been over Northeast Ohio today, and really even, I should say, not tonight. But and actually I'm noticing something on reflectivity here, guys, kind of south of Canton, maybe trying to exhibit a new spin up here. I'm a little concerned about this one. Kyle and Owen and Brant, what do you guys think about that? It's going to be literally just due south of Canton towards Magnolia. What do you think?
Yeah, it's got the potential. I mean, it's trying. I mean, it's definitely trying. So what I kind of expect, and then Kyle can piggyback. Then the Pittsburgh office did issue that severe thunderstorm warning, as Brant mentioned, with the tornado possible tag, to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up. That's kind of their first step to say that, hey, there might be a tornado warning issued. It still has a little bit of a hook. I mean, nothing too drastic, but in particular, I'm looking at the area near Brewster and right near Beach City and Strasburg, I think is how you say that one. That's a potential area that I'm keeping my eye on as this continues, and that would go into Tuscarawas and Carroll County. Kind of what I expect. This tornado warning is still out there. It still continues until 12:30, and that's 3 minutes from now, so that one likely will obviously expire on time because it is moving out of the Cleveland area of responsibility into Pittsburgh, so likely that one will expire here in about 2 minutes. Go ahead, Kyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that tornado tag is, like you said, kind of a catch-all because, as Nick mentioned earlier too, not spin-ups, but a brief isolated tornado is certainly possible with this line. Yeah, that area just near Beach City and just to the north of Strasburg, certainly worth watching. But I think we're going to see little pockets like that throughout this storm as it continues to move southeast. Eventually towards Carrollton and now over Minerva and eventually over by East Liverpool. So I think that's why they tagged the tornado possible, and we'll just go from there. But overall, you're not seeing the signatures like we were seeing earlier with the storm in Medina County. This is more, I think, what appears to be at least shifting into more of a straight line wind event.
And Kyle, if you just noticed, the meteorologist that's lead tonight in the chat just mentioned exactly what we just talked about. So a very nice hook echo, as he said there, near Canton or north of Mineral City.
Oh yeah, in Cleveland, I see now. Yeah.
So yeah, and I believe Tuscarawas is a Pittsburgh county, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so and Mike and the guy issuing that came out of the Cleveland office, so I'm sure they're kind of giving a precursor to Pittsburgh, giving them a little bit of a heads up on maybe what to look for here as they continues to exit out of their area. The tornado warning is now expired.
Yeah, we're sitting here at the 12:30 time frame, and
It is officially expired.
Yeah, we've seen that tornado warning been allowed to expire. So that's one good news. That's one good piece of information. But we still have a very intense line of thunderstorms continuing to rumble across northeast Ohio. So you'll see the flashing. Actually, I would say you're going to see the box go away, and there it did. So it kind of went away and kind of beat me to the punch there. So that's kind of where things stand. And behind this line, there's kind of stratiform rain, and it really kind of heavy rain at that coming through the rest of northeast Ohio. So just because your severe threat may have ended in places like Cleveland and even over towards Akron and Ashtabula, there's still plenty of heavy rain coming through. Likely going to see some ponding of water, maybe even some minor flooding. And that's kind of where we'll continue to watch that very closely. So again, yes, so Tuscarawas County is out of the Pittsburgh office, so we'll watch and wait and see what they elect to do with that. Looks like Pittsburgh's continued to add some other severe thunderstorm warnings to there, so we'll watch that closely. And even back over here into Seneca County, still some really heavy rain falling here. Ashland, you're getting hit pretty hard now along I-71, but the good news is we have no active tornado warnings. It took us some time to get there, but the storms have kind of weakened in at least that aspect, so we don't have one definitive spot that's kind of jumping out of where we're seeing any kind of tornadic activity popping up there. So again, if you do happen to lose this stream, we are live on YouTube as well. I really haven't mentioned that much. I did post a link in the comment section there a little bit ago, but we are live over on YouTube. So if you lose Facebook connection, or perhaps you just need to switch devices, you can also check us out on Ohio News and Weather over on the YouTube channel. We're live over there. Not many comments over there, not many reports, and that's perfectly fine, but that's kind of where if you lose kind of one connection, you can just kind of find somewhere else to watch us. We're live on many different platforms. That way you guys can try to find us and stay informed. So numerous warnings. Let's kind of give you since we have a tornado warning break, we don't have anything tornado-wise. Let's kind of give you a general synopsis of what's going on across the entire coverage area. We'll kind of start off with Northwest Ohio, and Kyle, I'll kind of let you take this one. This is kind of your neck of the woods. Kind of describe what you're seeing out there. That's a pretty thick line coming through, at least entering your portion of Northwest Ohio now.
Yeah, I live just to the west of Findlay, and we're getting a really heavy downpour right now just to the west of Findlay in Hancock County. Of course, there are no warnings in Northwest Ohio, but behind the cell that's over my house right now in western Hancock County, you got another one there moving into Putnam County, probably just near south of Continental, Cloverdale, and DuPont. That's going to head towards Ottawa there in central Putnam County. So right now I'd say we have winds maybe 30, 35 miles per hour with this little cell that's moving through western Hancock County. So I would expect probably the same for that same one in Putnam County. It looks fairly impressive on radar. And then you have some storms just south of Fort Wayne that actually look a little more intense that'll eventually move into Van Wert County over the next probably 30 minutes or so. But no warnings here. Again, we have a storm over Hancock County right now, about 30-mile-an-hour winds and some heavy downpours, but that's really about it, and some pretty frequent lightning.
Yeah, in fact, I was just looking to get a hold of some of my family in Fort Wayne to see what they are seeing, and looks like there's nothing important, so they haven't sent me anything, so that's some good news, hopefully.
Good.
Yeah, that's absolutely some good news. So I'm also seeing some reports in the comments section about maybe some reports coming out of Medina County. Again, nobody has sent us any of their own pictures. We're not going to share somebody else's picture. It needs to be taken from you because we want to make sure that it can be validated and whatnot. So we'll continue to watch that closely. So again, right now, no other warnings west of 75. All of our warnings are, well, actually east of 75, and that's okay. And we'll kind of continue to watch that closely. So Brant, are you seeing anything else? Perhaps you can kind of give a quick rundown of how things across East Central Ohio are looking, where we have our current active warnings. And I'm going to read some stuff from the backside and try to see what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, so I guess in this time I'm just going to run back the reports that we've gotten so far from the MPING and from EMA and some spotters that we have on the ground up in northeast Ohio. So back in Medina County, as this storm progressed west, of course, it's moving into parts of Carroll County, Stark County, Ashland County, Wayne County. So this whole complex is continuing to move southeast, but with it, previously, we have gotten reports of in North Medina County of 1.5-inch hail. So that is, as Owen alluded to earlier, right around the size of ping pong ball sized hail. And then as we could further head into Stark County, we got some reports of some wind gusts to about 65 miles per hour and 60. And actually in northern Stark County right now, Nick, there is a picture floating around Twitter of a house or a tree down on a house. So we're seeing a lot of that across this area, and that's due to these straight line winds or damaging winds that are with this storm. heading into center of Stark County. Another report of 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and a few spotty reports of about quarter-sized hail there. So it's very dangerous. This complex has done some damage back in the northern part of northeast Ohio, kind of around the Cleveland area, and it's continuing to push southeast right now.
Yeah, and I'll kind of piggyback off what you're saying. So I'm keeping an eye on the power grid. We're getting lots of those reports, like Brant said, of trees down. Still, the power outages, and these don't update they usually update about every 30 minutes coming out of the Ohio EMA. Looking at this, we're seeing Lorain County still leading the way right now with 10,000 outages in Lorain County, almost 11,000. That's went down just a bit. And then looking at the hardest hit areas of like Medina County, they're at 3,700 power outages. So that's quite a bit for Medina County right now. So they're sitting at 3,700 in Medina County. Summit County, if we look over there, they're sitting also at 3,100. And those seem like the biggest, hardest hits. We have some sporadic ones back towards Lucas County and some other areas, but the biggest areas, again, Lorain County at about 10,500 power outages. Cuyahoga County sitting at 4,600, Medina County 3,700, and Summit County at 3,100. Some pretty big numbers for some of those rural type counties, if you will, near Medina and stuff. So that's a pretty good number that we're keeping an eye on. But again, has to do a lot with those straight line winds that we're seeing there. And we're just getting lots of like hail reports, I think, too. And they're starting to trim back the watches, which is a good thing for some of the counties over towards Indiana. But generally, we're starting to see this thing kind of, hopefully, I say, fade down just a bit.
Yeah, and I just want to say that it's I think it's Elyria. I think that's how you say I'm always weary of saying town names I don't understand. But back up, Elyria. So back up in Lorain County right now, where the police scanner is saying we've got and I quote, we've got a lot of roads blocked with trees down. So if you're don't go out right now, and especially if you come across a tree down on the road, it could be very dangerous. You also could have power lines down that are live. Don't get near those. So the police scanners are very active right now in northeast Ohio. We're getting a lot of reports in about trees, not only down on houses, but blocking a lot of roads up there right now.
Yeah, and I've got the severe thunderstorm watches popped up. I'm also replying to a couple of comments here. So these are active watches. I know Owen said we're getting some counties dropped off. We'll probably see that updated here shortly. But anything shaded in yellow right now still under severe thunderstorm watches. If you're north of 70, that goes until 3 a.m. If you're along and south of 70, it goes until 6 a.m. Again, that doesn't mean that it's going to, we won't see that expire sooner. But that's kind of where things stand at the moment. Again, we're seeing the watches going to start getting trimmed back as the line clears through, so we'll continue to watch
we have a new
these.
Tornado warning?
We do. Okay, go ahead, Owen.
All right, this new tornado warning has been issued for Columbiana County in Ohio, Beaver, Pennsylvania, not in our coverage area. So just Columbiana County near the town of Lisbon. We do have a new tornado warning that has been issued until 1:15. The storm is located near East Palestine, moving southeast at 50 miles an hour. So a new tornado warning has just been issued there. We're also keeping a close eye on Carroll County, so there's some pretty good rotation going there too. So new tornado warning again for Columbiana County, Ohio. If you're in that area, that is part of our coverage area right now. So a new tornado warning right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one too. And I see what you're talking about in Carroll County. I'll talk about that one perhaps in just a minute too, or perhaps Kyle or Brant could. But I don't have the terminal Doppler report about at Pittsburgh, but this is really, really close, I think, to the terminal Doppler in Pittsburgh. But right now you're taking a look. The worst of this is coming right into East Palestine. This does not include East Liverpool. I want to make that clear. Does not include West Point. Does not include Lisbon. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that this is from the terminal Doppler. This thing is very wrapped up. It's in the middle of a hail core or a rainstorm, right now. So it is rain wrapped. This is a relatively small tornado warning compared to what we have seen. But Nick, I do have the terminal Doppler pulled up, and it is right along just east of or just west of the state line right now. It is a very, very wrapped up right now. So a very strong rotation couplet.
Yeah.
Well, give me just a second. I want to pull up the terminal Doppler, so I got to add that into are
Oh,
streaking.
it's there. Wait till you look at it.
There are TVS signatures all over the place.
Yeah, but that's terminal. You're not going to see
terminal
that.
Doppler. That's what it does.
Yeah.
So give me just a second. I'm going to
The one you're looking at is right near the state line.
Okay.
It is.
It's just
yeah.
southeast of Rogers.
Yeah, it's there, big
Okay.
time.
Okay.
I'm gonna
so,
look at the. I'm gonna take the Pittsburgh radar and look for debris right now.
Yeah. So let's take a look at terminals. Let me get this blown up and let me make sure that this looks okay on both sides, and it looks good to me. Okay. So the terminal Doppler here, and let me pull this up. Let's go to velocity. Yeah, there it is right there. You can see it is completely wrapped up. I'm going to take the TVS markers off. There's way too many. But just to the south and east of Rogers, pretty much right on the Ohio-Pennsylvania state line right now. That's where I would be really concerned. Very close to East Palestine. I would be in your safe place. New Waterford, stay in your same place. Rogers, stay in your same place. Otherwise, this is a fairly rural portion of Columbiana County, and I think again within probably 2 or 3 scans we could probably kind of bounce off of this, but because we're moving into Pennsylvania. However, very intense storm coming through, but yeah, that's a look at it on terminal. Very, very well-defined circulation. Very good call out by Pittsburgh there. I know the box shows up in purple here. I'm not sure if that... Okay, that's just radar indicator rotation. I must have not have adjusted my settings. However, that's where things stand at the moment. Again, we're watching a tornado warning here for Columbiana County with tornado and radar indicator rotation with up to quarter-size hail with this one as well. And let me bounce you back over to... we'll take a look at the radar in a full perspective, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth between that and the terminal Doppler. As you can see, a lot of very, very heavy rain. So you're Owen and Brant, this is, again, another example. It's going to be rain wrap, so if anybody's out ahead of it, even thinking about trying to see it, even though it is in the middle of the night, they're not going to. This is completely shrouded up in rainfall. And the latest scan, it looks like it has completely moved into Pennsylvania, but nevertheless, there are all kinds of little phalanges and little kinks in the line there, guys.
Yeah. Kyle stepped out for just a minute to do an update on his page. And we're starting to see, don't want to take the focus off this particular tornado warning, but we're starting to see our first aerial flood warning for Lucas County back near Toledo tonight. So we're starting to see some of those come in as well. But on this particular cell, very nicely wrapped up, and it's right near the state line. Very rural area out there, but if you're anywhere in the Columbiana County area, yeah, that is it's very nice. It's one of those classic ones that we're talking about. Also, excuse me, we're keeping an eye close to Carroll County. So if you're near the town of Carrollton, again, you're still under severe thunderstorm warning. That is tagged tornado possible. So make sure that you are also just being precautious, seeking shelter anywhere along this line. Otherwise, there's no other tornado warnings issued right now except for Columbiana County. So some people are asking that. So the only tornado warning active right now is for this Columbiana County tornado getting ready to push off into Pennsylvania. And but otherwise, we do have a slew of severe thunderstorm warnings that are still up, and we're going to see some of those drop off here in just a minute. I think they let the one near Youngstown expire, I believe. But we're going to see some of those drop off here in just a second. But we're still dealing with that leading edge. But we're still watching. I would say, Nick, the area that I'm really concerned with still is near that Carrollton. I know it's not quite as tight, but it has exhibited some of those signs of starting to hook just a little bit. But that one, right there near the state line is pretty much into. They just wait a minute. Yeah, they just continued the warning.
Yeah. I want to point out on that, while it looks like most of that has crossed over into the state line, there are what looks to be multiple rotations in that. I'm seeing at least 2 on the terminal Doppler. There's one. I can't even say where they are because they're in such rural locations, but they're still just hovering just east of the state line. I'm noticing 2 distinct areas of rotation, so they could perhaps issue another tornado warning. I would not expect that to include Columbiana County. I would think that would be out of our coverage area. And now, based on the latest scan, there could be even 3 different spots with rotation. So if you're still in east central and far eastern Columbiana County, please still stay in your safe place. I know it's mainly into Pennsylvania, but again, just as a course out of safety, just go ahead and stay in your safe place until we go ahead and give you the all clear. I think maybe another scan at the most, and we should be fairly clear there. But and that's pretty impressive. Multiple rotations along that same line there.
Yeah, and I can tell you, while this is starting to die down, you're going to see the big box start to be trimmed back quite a bit from Cleveland, and you're going to kind of see just this active area near Carroll and Jefferson and Tuscaroras and some of those counties still be our active zones. But while that's going on, we still have some spots really starting to pop up near kind of back towards the Indiana line. So we don't want to forget about you guys back there near Jay County, Mercer County, Van Wert, Adams County, Ohio. We're looking at that area too. There's some pretty strong storms, and I think that's what Kyle dipped out to do, is to do that update, but we're still looking at those as well. I know we don't want to take our focus too much off the tornado warning, but I think that is pretty much pushed out of our area. But we're still watching those storms fire up back towards, again, starting to come into Ohio, near Greenville, if you will, Darke County, Wapakoneta. So there's some isolated popcorn-type storms, but there's also on the backside of that still some pretty good storms and some pretty good intensities with those storms that we'll have to keep a close eye on as well. While that's being said, we also have another slew of aerial flood warnings for like Ashland, Crawford, Lucas, Holmes, Huron, Morrow, Richland, Stark, and Summit County. So you're seeing some aerial flood warnings until wee or hours of the morning, almost to the sunlight. So again, don't drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown if you're in any one of those areas. But we're again seeing just a slew. Now, I got to tell you something, Nick. The latest numbers, and I don't want to take too much focus off this, and I apologize, but Summit County has now jumped up to 18,000 power outages. So that's been reported there. So in Summit County, in the state of Ohio, we currently have 70,000 power outages. Right now, Summit County is at 18,000, Lorain County is at 10,000, Portage County is at 10,000, Medina County is at 7,600, Cuyahoga County is at 4,900, Stark County is at 4,000, and Geauga County is at 3,800. So we had a significant increase there coming out of Summit County with 18,000 power outages, along with Lorain County with roughly 11,000 power outages, Nick.
Yeah, so I want to add one thing here, and again, we're seeing a lot of comments. I know we have a lot of questions about this town, and this town, so I want to answer all of those right now with one simple kind of explanation. If you have not experienced, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that to make sure everybody hears this. If you have not experienced the main line here stretching from Mansfield to New Philadelphia to Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, your severe threat continues. If you have already experienced this, Akron, Cleveland, Ashtabula, Youngstown, Sandusky, even over towards Toledo, Lorain, Medina, Geauga County, Lake County, your threat is over. The main line has come through. Your threat has ended. There is no reason to be concerned about severe weather. Yes, heavy rain and maybe some stratiform thunderstorm activity will continue, but your severe threat has all but ended in those areas. So hopefully that will kind of take care of some of the questions about, what about Akron, what about this, what about this. If you're out ahead of this, so New Philly, Mansfield, Columbus, Zanesville, Springfield, Dayton, Wheeling, Parkersburg, all of you still have a severe threat. If you live in Toledo, Sandusky, Cleveland, Ashtabula, Akron, Youngstown, not quite Canton just yet, but those areas north of US 30 pretty much, your severe threat is over for all intents and purposes for the most part.
Two things that happened, Nick, while you were talking there. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for, what do we got? I got a couple.
Harrison, Jefferson,
Brooke, Hancock.
and Hancock.
Yeah, that's been issued until 1:30, 60-mile-an-hour gusts. Pittsburgh National Weather Service has said the following. It looks like the tornado threat with that cell is diminishing, although we could see some pretty strong winds, so that's good. They're looking at the cell near Carrollton. They're continuing to watch that one. The severe thunderstorm watch will be trimmed back, I can tell you that. So some of those areas will start to fall out of the watch. And the tornado warning has now been canceled. So we are no longer under a tornado warning that has just been allowed to expire.
Yeah, then that's no surprise. So again, we're kind of
one quick question, Nick. Do we have this going on Ken's page?
Not. That'll probably be the next question we're going to probably get. I know Ohio County, where Wheeling is, that would be the next warning if this line continues. I say we'll probably give it a few more minutes yet before we try to add anything, but we might want to check with Ken and see what his availability is. If not, then Owen, we did this back on Memorial Day. You could always run Ken's stream if we have to, or maybe Brant could start one if we have to, depending on what we need to do.
I do want to say, I want to take a look at, if you can flip the radar back, Nick, or at least zoom into Carroll County right now, just south of Carrollton. There's a pretty impressive hook with that. The rotation isn't there, but if you look at the chat, that we have, Nick. I sent a picture of it, and you can see it from my radar. It's a very, very, very well defined hook. The rotation isn't there, but there is the potential to see that area maybe start ramping up again, just based off the classic hooks that we look for.
Oh, and if you want to take a look at that quick photo too, yeah, we had that a couple scans ago. It's definitely not as pronounced now, I don't think, but we'll continue to watch it. I'm also watching that from the Pittsburgh terminal. We're not seeing much, but again, we're kind of looking quite a ways out there, so that's kind of where things stand at the moment. That's kind of what we'll have to watch and wait and see what happens. We're still seeing some gusty winds with this regardless. That's why they issued that new severe thunderstorm warning at this point in time. I know Ken is answering a lot of questions. I know I've answered several questions. I'm sure once Zach is back, Zach will be able to answer some questions too. He's even offered to kind of help as well. So here's a quick look at the rest of northeastern Ohio. I'm going to put the radar into motion. I'm going to step off here for just a couple minutes, Owen and Brant, so you guys can kind of take it home for a couple minutes.
Okie dokie. Well, we'll talk here while Nick just steps away for just a minute. We're continuing to watch that area, and again, if there's any areas, as Brant kind of was pointing out too, if there's any areas that I'm really concerned with, it is near that town of Carrollton in Carroll County. That is one of the strongest areas near Harlem Springs that I'm continuing to watch. Although the good thing is, yeah, it's showing that kind of that classical hook. We're starting to see it calm down just a little bit, and that's a good thing. Just to kind of reiterate and piggyback off what Nick said, we are no longer under a tornado warning in any part of the coverage area, so that should help you calm down just a little bit. We are seeing a couple things. Right now we're focused in on the northeast portion of Ohio. You're going to see the severe thunderstorm watch. It's going to be updated. Some of your counties are being dropped out of that, like Lucas County, Stutsky County, Wood County, and some of those areas north have been dropped out of the watch. Pretty much the threat is now past you. You can kind of see that line extending all the way from Youngstown back to Findlay. So if you're anywhere along that line and south, yes, you could see the potential for severe weather as we head into the overnight hours. If you've already experienced kind of that frontal line, then you are pretty much going to be in the clear. So, but kind of extending from Hancock County and Findlay all the way over towards Youngstown and Columbiana County, and particularly Mahoning County and the Youngstown area, along that line in Mansfield, you can't let your guard down. I know we have a lot of people in Mansfield, but you can't let your guard down. So make sure that if you're in that area as well, you're getting ready to see the strongest part of the line come into the city of Mansfield. So make sure that you are just prepared if there was to be a warning issued. I think in that area it's going to be just some strong winds and maybe some hail. Nothing overly concerning that we're seeing right now. But again, as we're going through the next couple hours, that could change. We again could see some of these lines kind of pick up in intensity a little bit in some of these pockets that happen. So if you're in Mansfield, the bulk's coming towards you right now. We're also continuing to watch areas off towards, even further towards the west, near Adams County, Van Wert County, and that line extending towards Lima. So make sure that you are exhibiting those. Also, one big thing that I want to point out to everybody: make sure that you know where you live on a map. As we are putting these out there, make sure you know how to understand radar and the screen of what we're looking at. Make sure, hopefully, you know how to find yourself on a map. That's very important because we have so many warnings that are issued that we can't focus in on your single town. So just make sure you know the counties and the outlying counties, and make sure you know where you live on a map. You would be surprised at how many of the younger generation do not know where they live on a map. Because of all the technology we have today, nobody knows where they live on a map. So make sure you do. Make sure you keep that in mind. Google yourself and just know the surrounding areas that will help you in any of the situations. So make sure you have that as well. We're keeping a very close eye on some of those tornado kind of couplets, if you will. Again, we're not under any type of tornado warnings at this point, but again, we're keeping a very, very close eye on that, although conditions are not as favorable as we're moving in here right now. So I know we're getting some video in there from Brant. I'll be looking at that here in just a minute, and I believe we got Nick back. So Nick, are you back?
Yes, I am. I want to take a look at, I want to go back over to West Central Ohio, Northwest Ohio, Northeast Indiana. Zach, I see you're back in here. Where are you at, and what are you seeing?
Right now we are in the town of Arlington on US 68 heading south. We are just drove through the storm that went through Findlay, had about pea-sized hail. We are kind of positioning in front of the line from Lima, kind of back west towards Salina, and then the stuff coming out of eastern Indiana.
Yeah, good to know with that. And then Owen's going to step away now, so we're going to, some of us will kind of have to step in and out, and that's why we have a full team here to kind of let you know what's going on. So really, right now across west central, northwestern Ohio, things are really picked up in intensity, but not in terms of severity. And Brant, we're not seeing any warnings, but man, there's a ton of very heavy rain, and there's likely, as Zach alluded to, you had some PSI, so I'm seeing a lot of purple on the radar across northeast Indiana and now moving into northwestern Ohio.
Yeah, and I just want to say, even behind this, this initial line, I mean, falling in Trumbull, the entire county base of Trumbull County right now, Ashtabula, Geauga, Portage, there is tremendous rain falling. So we're kind of transitioning as this line continues to progress southeast. I think we're moving, especially in northeast Ohio, moving into more of a flood threat, because this is a very large amount of rain falling over a very wide area. Nick, I don't know if you have gotten a chance to look at the video that I sent you, but we did get a video in. We are asking permission to use it right now, so potentially we could pull it up on the screen and show you. But as of now, we do not have that permission, so we're going to hold off of a tornado near Brunswick. Earlier, if any of you are familiar with that, just off of Southbridge Boulevard. So we are starting to get reports in of some damage. We're starting to get some tornado video in. So if this is confirmed, this was tweeted by a meteorologist. So Nick, that's a good indication of it was verified. So I think we have had a tornado at some point tonight along the storms we were watching, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where Brunswick is. Oh, there it is. It's in northern Medina County. So it looks like we did have a tornado go through Brunswick in northern Medina County, and that was the tornado warning that we've been tracking for a while. So we're currently working on getting permission for that to see if we can use that. But Nick, it is clear that this line has done a significant amount of damage in some parts of northeast Ohio.
Yeah, and we can show that once, if we can get some permission to use that, perhaps somebody could even try to post that. That's kind of where things stand. So now, since things have kind of let up temporarily, a lot of you have been asking for a zoomed-out radar picture, and here you go. This. We may not be able to show this a lot, depending on how the intensity of other thunderstorms perform, but as it stands right now, there are two distinct lines, if you will, and they're all kind of one within the same, but there are two distinct areas that we are watching. Number one is where we have our active severe thunderstorm warning, so Columbiana County, Carroll County, Tuscarawas County. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for you that will go until 1:15. That is still tagged tornado possible. However, that whole line is going to be out of that polygon probably by about 1:05 to 1:10. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Carroll, most of Jefferson, portions of Harrison, portions of Brooke and Hancock counties. That's going to West Virginia, our northern panhandle counties. That goes until 1:30. Now, they have that moving southeast at about 80 miles per hour. That's clearly a little too fast, in my opinion, probably more like 50 to 60. But nevertheless, damaging winds are still possible with that. That's the only area where we have severe activity in our entire coverage area right now. The other area of concern, and I know Kyle Adams is probably still live talking about this over on his page, so if you want to go take a look at a more localized update, we can't always be able to bounce around to other areas where there's no warnings. I understand that it may be storming pretty significantly, but we cannot necessarily jump around if we have warnings out there. We have to sometimes stay focused, so just understand that. Newest radar scan is going to come in. So let's take you into northwest Ohio real quick for those of you that have been waiting for a little bit on this. We have Van Wert, extremely heavy rain. North of Lima, same thing. Salina, you're getting hit pretty hard. Portland, you got hit hard a couple Saturdays ago. You're getting hit hard again now. Northern Adams County, southeastern Allen County getting hit pretty hard. And there's kind of a secondary little cell trying to develop north of Fort Wayne. That'll just kind of be stratiform rain and thunderstorm activity. I'm not really concerned about that. That's behind this initial line, so that's severe threat. Not even going to be a potential with that. Where also I'll be watching is back here towards Indianapolis. I'm very curious to see if any of this begins to fill in. Some of the other high-resolution models had determined that this area would fill in immensely between about midnight and 2 a.m. So I'm curious to see if that fills in over the next hour. It's very scattered now once you get to between Marion and, let's say, Champaign, Illinois, but we have to watch this too. So as you can see, our two main concerns are obviously what's in our coverage area, but we have to watch what else is out there too, not just what's in our coverage area. So there's a lot of different things going on. Zach, are you guys looking to kind of maybe perhaps intercept or kind of get into the line that's coming into like Van Wert and Mercer counties? Is that kind of your guys' goal?
I believe that is the plan. Yeah, we'll see what that does. Right now, it looks like definitely kind of the strongest part of that line. So we'll see what that does. We'll be in position for that, and then also watch kind of the tail end of that back to the west and see if any of that develops.
Yeah, we'll have to watch all that very closely. So that was kind of a quick radar synopsis of kind of what's going on across the area. We do want to bounce back to where we do have some active warnings, and if we do continue to see a decreasing trend here, we might actually end this broadcast and get a much-needed reset. We've been on the air for at least 3 hours now, straight without any kind of breaks or any kind of interruptions or anything like that in terms of having to stop coverages or anything. So we might take a little reset depending on how things pan out here over the next, let's say, maybe 10 minutes or so. But as it stands now, still a very intense squall line. And Brant, I think it's fair enough to go ahead and call it that now. It's a very, very decently filled in, very decent-looking squall line from about Mansfield all the way over to Foxitani, Pennsylvania, which is actually the home of Foxitani Phil.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say, Nick, from when this cluster originated back in the middle of Lake Erie, so we've been watching this for this is about 9 o'clock actually, so it's been a long 4 hours right now, but I think it's safe to say, Nick, that it's significantly weaker per se than what it was when it was just coming off the lake in parts of Lorain and Cuyahoga and Erie counties. But that I don't want that to diminish the threat at all. We do still have some severe thunderstorm warnings out there. It could get embedded hail. They're relatively large severe thunderstorm warnings. We're not talking about the isolated, probably 20 miles in diameter severe thunderstorm warnings that we usually do. We're talking in the tens of miles right now. So embedded hail, all within this line, anywhere. It just depends on where the hail cores like to shift around. Very heavy rain. If you're driving right now, heading into these storms, you might want to turn on your flashers and kind of slow down or maybe pull over until this rain passes, because this is going to be very, very heavy rain and some wind. As we've said, Nick, we've had reports of trees down on houses, numerous reports of that. Again, we've got numerous reports of 60 to 65, even upwards of 70 mile-per-hour wind gusts on the ground as this line continues to push to the southeast, and it's slowly edging its way out of the state. But we do have that line extending back into north-central Ohio too, Nick. So I think you're right. It's fair to say that's the squall line. And with a squall line, we get a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and a lot of hail, and some embedded tornadoes, which we're continuing to monitor for.
Yeah, and we continue to watch the comments here. As I see, Ken McNatt is still manning the comment section. I appreciate that. If we do have to take a reset, it might actually be to get Ken's page involved on a stream, just in case warnings do begin to pick up across the mid-Ohio Valley. So, again, right now, if you live in northeastern Tuscarawas, all of Carroll, southeastern Columbiana, which, by the way, the tornado warning has been canceled for Columbiana County now for a good 5 minutes anyway, and then also into Harrison and Jefferson counties in Ohio, then Brooke and Hancock in West Virginia. Don't want to forget about you guys. We do cover the entire West Virginia Panhandle. Our coverage stops at the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. I know we have a couple fans over in Pittsburgh and whatnot, but we just don't have large of enough of a following to cover Western PA, and quite honestly, that would be a very tall task because we'd have to look at expanding other portions of the coverage area. So that's why we stop at the Ohio-PA border. But if you have questions about anywhere surrounding our coverage area, we're very close. We will try to answer them the best we can for you. So right now we're watching. This is coming very close to the city of Pittsburgh, coming through Weirton, has pretty much coming in now to New Philadelphia as well. Again, even if you're not seeing hail and you're not seeing severe wind, you're going to get a deluge of rain, at least an inch of rain, if not more. We have numerous aerial flood warnings across northeastern Ohio. I don't even want to begin to touch on those because I know there are several, but maybe Owen can give us a quick recap on those. He's watching the Weather Service chats closely. Brant, you might even be able to kind of look back. I know you have the instant alerts now too. I'm not sure if the flood warnings come out. I know the flash flood warnings, so we don't have any of those, but we'll watch and wait and see what we come up with that. That's kind of where things stand now. But again, things have definitely calmed down from where we were even just 15, 20 minutes ago. Things have calmed down immensely. So let's put an updated track on this from Mansfield through Tuscarawas County and then into western PA even. We'll kind of track this here to the south and east. Again, not moving incredibly fast. I'd say about 45 to 50 miles per hour. We'll track it out a little bit faster than that just to kind of give you a heads up. So coming into Pittsburgh at 112, coming into Mount Lebanon at 117, Wheeling at 131, Bethel Park 136, Coshocton about 115 for you. So that's within the next 10 or 15 minutes, you're probably at least going to start to hear some thunder. It may not be raining quite yet, but you'll likely start to hear some of that thunder out there. James says you're getting some reports of hail there in Shelby. That is in Richland County. Thank you for that. Ron, let's see this comment here about be careful. Some windshield wipers can't keep up with the rain intensity levels. Yeah, if you're out driving, which again, it is 1 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully you're not driving, but if you do happen to be out driving, you want to make sure your wipers are in good working order. And in fact, I think we're going to want to stay live here until we see whether or not Brant we get permission. I assume that's what Owen stepped out for, is to try to get permission to use that tornado video there from New Brunswick. So good find, and hopefully we can share that. Yeah, Owen, you there?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on? Sorry, I heard my name. I was working on some other thing.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if you were working on getting permission to use that tornado video from New Brunswick.
I didn't know. I didn't get that. Sorry. No, I didn't.
I do want to, oh, and I don't mean to steal your thunder here per
Go
se.
for it.
No pun intended right now, but in Northeast Ohio right now, we have 113,000 people without power right now. So that's, I'm not quite sure what you said earlier, but I'm sure that's a very large uptick from what you reported earlier. The majority of those coming from Medina County, with 30% of the county is without power right now.
Yeah, and Brant, I'm just sorry. I just seen one of these things called a significant weather advisory. That's one of the new that's a new advisory they're issuing now out of Indianapolis, and it's for Park and Vermilion counties. It doesn't include any of our counties, but yeah, I was kind of I looked over and I said, huh, okay. So yeah, the power outages. That's actually what I was working on too. There was two things I was working on. That was one of them. And then I literally have a chat room open with some people on Zoom that have been there since 6:30. So I was talking to them a little bit. They were watching all night. So it's amazing. We got to self-distance and hang out with Zoom. But it works. But the power outages, like you said, Brant, jumped into well over 100,000. The county in the lead right now is going to be Summit County with over 23,000 power outages in Summit County. So that kind of took the lead right now. The max, 23,000 for Summit County. Stark County comes in second at 11,000 power outages, and Lorain County now is coming in at 10,000, and Portage County at 10,000 as well. So we're seeing those. Medina County is now at 9,000. Cuyahoga County jumped up just a little bit to 5,000. So a lot of power outages in that northeast quadrant, and only expect to see those numbers rise, because you got to remember the power outages, we don't know them until they're reported. So some people are starting to report those, maybe waking up or so and reporting those. So the National Weather Service has just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning that goes for Carroll, Coshocton, Harrison, Jefferson, Tuscarawas counties until 2 a.m. For our area right now. So we're continuing to watch these storms kind of push off and out of our area, and we're continuing to see, just a little bit of that rotation. We're keeping an eye on that. My personal opinion, I'm not sure what Nick wants to do. I don't know if we're going to keep this live. We've been on here for right around 3 hours or so, about 2 hours, 40 minutes. So not sure how long he wants to keep it going, but you are going to see that new warning pop up on your screen there for Tuscarawas County right now, Nick. Absolutely. Mhm. Mhm.
It's very
Hey,
important
Nick.
to understand that. Yeah, I saw that, so I kind of just wasted a lot of time there, but that's okay. That's okay. So
Just yeah,
yeah,
just
so
trying to help.
I'll kind of restart a little bit, but basically, in a nutshell, guys, please understand that you need to understand where you live on a map. Okay, I know we have a lot of people that help each other. I saw a lot of comments about people helping one another, but I also saw a lot of comments about why aren't you talking about me? I need to know what's going on about me. And what's going on here? What's going on there? You have to give us some time, guys. We cover a very large area, 124 total counties. That is a lot to cover. For relation, in comparison, Texas has almost 300 counties. So we're basically covering what would equate to the third of the state of Texas in a nutshell. It is an extremely large area. And you have to kind of understand where you live on a map. We use maps that look just like this. We know that the radar kind of looks like just a bucket of spilled paint for most of you, and I get that. But just understand, if you're not familiar with where you live on a map, Google your town, Google your county, know what the shape is, know what the name is, know where the most populated seat is, and just understand where you live. It would help out a lot, and it also would help the rest of our viewers and the rest of our fans. I see a lot of teamwork, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But it would also help us greatly. We understand we can't get to everybody at one time. We have we're probably approaching, I'd say, probably 150,000 total fans in our network. So that's a lot of people to cover. We don't mind doing it, but we need you guys to know where you live and understand when we talk about an area, that's where we're at. If we're not talking about you, you more than likely have nothing to worry about. And if you are, we'll be sure we talk about you. So again, for now, we'll wrap things up. We're going to get a quick reset in here. We want to be able to have other pages ready to go in the event more warnings are issued. So for Kyle Adams from Hancock County, Zach Batten, who's been live in Northwest Ohio all night, Owen Fritz in Sandusky County, Ken McNatt in the comments section out of Parkersburg, Brant Warren in Circleville, and myself, I'm Nick Dunn in Columbus. Please stay safe and continue to stay tuned for more severe weather coverage coming up likely in just a little bit. Stay safe out there and have a great night.